Science and Technology Information Institute, Starbucks is a digital library that serves as a one-stop repository of science and technology information that can be updated regularly. It provides offline access to over 500,000 digitized journals, publications, technical and project reports, theses and dissertations, and directories. Through the Starbucks program, Filipinos can have access to scientific information for their research needs or simply to satisfy their curious minds. Eventually, it is hoped that it will create interest in the field of science and technology, which may increase the number of Filipinos enrolling in science and technology courses, encourage great and curious minds to develop new ideas, inventions, and innovations, and inspire one's capacity for entrepreneurship and research for socioeconomic development.
Since 2019 to present, 220 Starbucks were deployed all over Region 10. This benefits a total of 6,000 students from various geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas and LCAP areas.
During the pandemic, most of the Starbucks have been used as a credible source for modules, a big help to our educators, especially in these trying times.
We're so very thankful sa Department of Science and Technology na ang mga eskwelahan karon nahimo na gyud nga beneficiaries sa ilahang mga project. And we're also very thankful that we receive also the Starbooks, which are very helpful to our learners as well as to our teachers.
Starbucks are still accessible through DOST regional offices for schools, training centers, and offices, among others. Schools and institutes may avail the program by reaching us and providing a few requirements. If you also have spare computers, we can provide you with the software. We will install it for free on your computer that meets the minimum specification. Recipients must also prepare their own pods and must assign a specific focal person that is trained by DOST. Starbucks is also now available online and through mobile apps. Science, technology, and innovation information sources are already within your fingertips. It is free, cost-efficient, and accessible. Truly, Starbucks is igniting science and technology inclination of the Filipino youth.
Hello guys! I am Delwin.
I am Jeff.
My name's Sarah.
And we are going to give you a tour to our DOST-10 Regional Standards and Testing Laboratories. Let's go!
But first, I have a question. How sure are you that the water you're drinking is clean and potable?
And some would say that it's clean, just because it's crystal clear.
Wait until we test your water.
Can you show us?
I can't, but Jenny, our laboratory analyst, will.
Hello guys! I'm Jenny, your laboratory analyst for today. We are here inside the DOST-10 Microbiological Testing Laboratory. There are 4 test parameters that DOST-10 RSTL performs in order to check if your water is safe and clean. First, heterotrophic plate count. Second, total coliform count. Third, fecal coliform count. And lastly, Escherichia coli enumeration. These test parameters are in line with the Department of Health's requirement in ensuring that our water is safe for drinking. So now, I'm going to show you how your water is being tested. First of all, we should clean the surface of our working area with a suitable disinfectant to ensure that there will be no contamination during our test. Then, we will proceed to our first procedure, which is the sample preparation. We need to disinfect the sample packaging or container with a suitable disinfectant prior to analysis. After that, we will clearly mark each culture media tubes, plates, and dilution water with sample laboratory code and any other necessary information before examination. So now, we're all set for testing. Let's thoroughly mix our water sample by rapidly making up and down movements approximately 25 times for 7 seconds by hand. Analytical results depend on adequate sample mixing. If the sample is not adequately shaken, the actual bacterial density could be underestimated. It is important that water samples should not be less than 100 ml, as the volume of our sample should be sufficient to carry out all tests required. After mixing the sample, we will then pipe it and transfer a portion of 20 ml to each of our 5 test tubes with culture media broth. Then, let's mix the suspension using a vortex mixer for 7 seconds. Finally, we will incubate our culture media tubes for 24 to 48 hours at 35 degrees centigrade. So we are done with our presumptive test for total coliform, fecal coliform, and E. coli test. Now, we will proceed to our heterotrophic plate count testing. We will prepare at least 2 sterile, appropriately marked Petri plates for every sample dilution to be used. For this sample, we will use 3 dilutions, 2 ml and 1 ml of our undiluted water sample, then our 10 to the negative 1 dilution. Let's thoroughly mix our water sample by rapidly making up and down movements approximately 25 times for 7 seconds by hand. So now, we are going to pipe it and transfer 2 ml of our undiluted water sample into separate labeled sterile plates. This corresponds to 10 to the 0 2 ml dilution. Then, we are going to pipe it and transfer 1 ml of our undiluted water sample into our sterile plates. This corresponds to the 10 to the 0 1 ml dilution. Using a pipette, we will transfer 10 ml of our undiluted water sample and add it to a 90 ml buffered water. From this dilution, we will pipe it and transfer 1 ml into separate, appropriately marked sterile Petri plates. This will correspond to our 10 to the negative 1 dilution. Then, we will pour at least 12 to 15 ml agar medium to each Petri dish. And we need to immediately mix sample and agar medium thoroughly and uniformly by alternate rotation and back and forth motion of plates. After mixing, we will let the agar solidify and incubate plates in an inverted position for 48 hours at 35 degrees centigrade. And finally, we are done with the testing. Science is truly amazing, right? Back to you, Sarah and friends.
Wow! A bit geeky, but very interesting.
Yes, it is, Jeff. That just made me want to learn more about the wonders of science, especially laboratory.
You're right, Sar. DOST10 is such a great help in ensuring that the water is safe. So guys, what are you waiting for? If you're unsure of your drinking water,
Come to DZXL and let your water be tested.
Nothing in science has any value to society if it is not communicated. This is according to Dr. Ann Rowe, author of the books The Making of the Scientist and The Psychology of Occupations. Magandang agham sa ating mga kasyensya. Welcome to our webinar entitled Science Communication, Visuals, and Media. This webinar is brought to us by the Department of Science and Technology, Regional Office 10. I am Bench Clark Mir from DOST 10, and I will be your host for today. Before anything else, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude dahil napakapuno and varied ng ating attendees today. In fact, we have received over 200 plus registrations coming from various parts of the country. No, this is so amazing indeed. No, ang dami natin sa ating webinar and also in our FB Live. Again, maayong buntag sa tanan and welcome. I'm sure everyone is excited as what we will be discussing this morning is a very timely and relevant topic. Sa lahat po ng aming listeners via Zoom man or FB Live, please stay with us until the end of this webinar because we guarantee you na marami po kayong matututunan na pwede nating i-apply sa anumang uri ng trabaho or kahit sa ating ginagawa sa pang-araw-araw. Lahat ng ito ay pwede nating ma-relate sa learning natin sa ating webinar entitled Science Communication, Visuals, and Media. We will be giving out promotional items from DOST 10 which will reach you wherever you are. So if kayo po ang papalaring manalo sa ating mga pa-blowout, no? We will be sending it out to you anywhere in the country. Without further ado, let's now kickstart the learning. To begin, may we invite everyone to bring their attention to the screen for our invocation, which will be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and the DOST hymn.
As we begin our activity today, may I ask everyone to please bow your heads and let us put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord. Dear Lord, we acknowledge your presence with us as we gather for a greater purpose today. We know that your love and mercy is with us as we journey day by day. We praise and love you, our Father, and we thank you for giving us this wonderful day. Thank you for our work that puts bread into our family's table. We thank you for the gift of patience and understanding when things get hectic at work, and we ask for forgiveness for being rude and insensitive at times. Forgive us, Lord, at times when we become easily irritated over irrelevant things and say words we don't mean. As we do what we are expected to do today, may you bless us with 100 folds of wisdom and knowledge to the extent that we can bring you closer. Our friends in the community and at work. Keep our minds and hearts open for new knowledge and break all walls that hinder us to share our time, talent, and treasures to our colleagues. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Lupang hinirang, tuyang ka ng magiting,
Mga kaagham, we hope that you are now at your most comfortable setup. So before we begin, no, quick virtual energy level check muna tayo. So for those who are in our Zoom platform, please press the thumbs up button if you are alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic. And to those naman na nasa ating FB live stream, please press the react button, and please don't forget to share our live stream to your friends, colleagues, and workmates. Now, let's take a quick look of who are with us this morning. We have over 140 registrants from the academe, and iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa pa yan. No? So we have attendees from UP Diliman and UP Los Baños. Kaway-kaway po. We also have attendees from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Central Luzon State University, and Benguet State University. Also with us are attendees from Caraga State University, University of San Carlos, and Negros Oriental State University. And of course, di rin magpapahuli ang ating ever active educators from the Department of Education. We also have attendees from our partner government agencies. We have attendees from the Philippine National Police, Department of Agriculture, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and a lot more. We are also seeing familiar faces from DOST. Hello po, good morning po sa ating lahat. We have attendees from DOST, FNRI, STII, FIVOLX, Picard, and a lot more. We can also see attendees from the private sector and ating mga partner NGOs and other organizations. So jam-packed po ang ating webinar today, and we hope that we could learn a lot from this webinar. And hindi na po natin maisa-isa sa pag-acknowledge ang ating mga attendees, no? But special mention sa lahat po ng DOST staff who are joining with us today. So good morning sa inyo dyan sa DOST 10. Good morning, colleagues. To formally welcome us on our webinar today, let us all welcome the DOST Undersecretary for Regional Operations and DOST 10 Officer in Charge, Yusek Sancho A. Mabora.
To our resource speakers, guests, and participants of today's webinar, a pleasant morning to everyone. Welcome to the Science Communication, Visuals, and Media webinar. We are joined today with esteemed speakers, and I hope that whatever good things you learn from here, you will continuously cultivate and apply in your own communities for one main reason: science is for the people. Facts and scientific evidence play a vital role in the public's decision-making. Everyone must be given equal opportunities in accessing these facts and scientific evidence to make an informed choice. Therefore, science simply must be open, understandable, and accessible to the masses, rather than hiding behind the doors of DOST offices and university auditoriums. Science needs to be communicated with everyone in an understandable and accessible language. This is what this webinar is all about. I hope that you will listen carefully and reflect on how to use this new information in your everyday work. Thank you and mabuhay.
Science is indeed for the people. Maraming salamat, Yusek Sancho Maborang. We would also like to acknowledge our attendees today. They have chatted in our chat box. Good morning from Davao del Sur State College. We also have our attendee from University of Southern Mindanao DevCom Department. We also have from UP Los Baños, from Kalatungan Elementary School, Talayan District, Division of Maguindanao 1. We also have an attendee from Isabela State University and from Philippine Information Agency Regional Office 10. And we also have from STD, ITBI, and Pampanga State Agricultural University, Northern Bukidnon State College, PSTO of Camiguin, University of San Jose Recoletos, MSU IIT, USTP CDO Campus, and from the Development Academy of the Philippines. Good morning po sa ating lahat. Now, to keep the ball rolling, our first speaker is currently the head of the Nuclear Information and Documentation Team and a supervising science research specialist from the DOST Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. She's also currently taking her doctorate in communication at the University of the Philippines Open University. She was also a former Information Officer 3 and OIC Unit Head of the DOST Science and Technology Information Institute. To talk about the importance of science communication, mga kaagham, let us all welcome Ms. Framelia Viernes Anonas. Magandang agham, Ma'am Fram. The virtual floor is yours and you may now share your presentation on the screen.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Bench, for the kind introduction. Am I being heard right now?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to thank you, Sec Sancho Maborang and the DOST-10 for the invitation to share something with you on science communication. And I commend and congratulate DOST-10 for this very, very helpful initiative. And ayun po, just let me share my screen. Okay. It's taking some time. Nakikita na po ba yung screen?
Yes, ma'am, but it's not in presentation.
It's not yet
mode.
in the presentation.
Yes po.
Okay. All right, so I would like to greet everyone. Good morning. Nag-advance yung screen ko. Okay. Maayong buntag sa tanan and good morning to all of our participants this morning. I think I heard Sir Bench say that we are all 140. Ayun, 153 na po on this time. And as we say it here at the Department of Science and Technology, isang makaagham na umaga sa ating lahat. Okay, my name is Framelia Viernes Anonas from the DOST Philippine Nuclear Research Institute, and I'll be sharing with you some thoughts on the importance of science communication. So before we proceed, just let me share something about me. I am not a scientist. I am an information officer. Ayan. So my team and I prepare materials for print, broadcast, social media, infographics, and many other things. So people would know more about S&T, particularly on nuclear science and technology. And my team and I also organize and cover events and handle social media pages. And one great thing about our team is that we also manage the PNRI library. And for me personally, I write about S&T on almost all kinds of platforms. And now let me tell you something about the institution where I belong to. Saan ba ako nanggaling at nasaan ako ngayon? Importante lang pong malaman natin that I come from the DOST Philippine Nuclear Research Institute, and this is the picture of one of our buildings, and it is known here in Metro Manila for its egg. Okay, its dome, which is actually the nuclear reactor, and under it is where we hold trainings for nuclear-related topics. And of course, the PNRI is more popular as the premier and the only institution with the expertise on nuclear S&T here in the country. And it is the home of several national S&T awardees, S&T national awardees. Let me make it clear. And 3 years in a row, we were named as the DOST agency with the most number of research papers published. And if you've heard of Carrageenan PGP or plant growth promoter, it's a plant food that comes from seaweeds. That is one of our best R&D products so far. And so aside from being an R&D institute, which focuses on nuclear energy, the PNRI also has another mandate, which is to regulate the use of nuclear energy to ensure that you and I are all healthy and safe from radiation, especially the radiation workers and the general public. And the last, we do R&D and we regulate, and we also offer services such as irradiation and training. And we have just reestablished the SATER, which is the training facility for future nuclear power personnel. And also, right now we are establishing or building the Nuclear Medicine Research and Innovation Center, which will train future nuclear medicine physicians. And with the future facilities that the center will house, we hope to bring down the cost of diagnosis and treatment of cancer. Okay, so that's about it for introductions. Are you ready for our main topic? Are you ready? So let me see your heart reacts on the chat box, please. Okay, may nag-thumbs up. Sabi ko heart. So, wala po bang heart ng ating mga ano? Ayun! So I see those, okay, those hearts coming up the chat box. Thank you so much. All right. Before pala, grabe naman ako, no? Before mag-speak, merong quiz. Okay, let's take a very, very simple quiz, and that is name a scientist. If you have your laptops or your gadgets with you, kindly go to slido.com and type the code that appears on your screen, okay, to take the quiz. Okay po ba? Okay, so in a short while, maybe I'll check what will be the result of the quiz. Okay, so slido.com hashtag, or that will be #2858912. Okay, so ongoing po yan hanggang mamaya. Okay, so let's now proceed. Okay. For those who have participated or who are participating, thank you so much. At yung mga hindi pa nakaka-participate, you can just proceed to slido.com and type in our code. All right, so I have a question. Okay. Who are they? I have here just 4 very popular scientists. Okay, and I hope they will figure out in our survey. Okay, so who are they? Let's just have a rundown. Okay, parang ano lang to, review lang. Okay, of course, the most popular among them, I guess, is Lolo Albert Einstein, who is known for so many things. But here I would like to highlight his quantum theory of light, which led to the invention of some of our favorite things like the television, the mobile phone, and modern devices such as smartphones, computers, laptops, and many other things. Okay, just don't ask me to explain the quantum theory of light kasi sabi ko nga kanina, di ba, hindi ako scientist. Yes, sinabi ko na ang aking disclaimer. But what I can explain here is that this theory led to some modern day gadgets that we all enjoy. Okay, the television, the mobile phone, and also yung screen devices natin such as the smartphones, computers, and laptops. And of course, isa sa pinaka-famous sa kanya, aside from his wiry hair, is the formula E equals mc squared. Okay, which led to the harnessing of nuclear energy. Nuclear pa rin, ano? Okay. He demonstrated the link between mass and energy that led to nuclear energy today. Okay, so did you know about these things before I flashed this slide on screen? Like, alam nyo na po ba dati pa na yung kanyang quantum theory of light ay nag-lead pala sa invention ng TV, mobile, smartphones, computer, laptops? Alam nyo na po ba yon? Kung alam nyo na po ba dati pa, type yes on the chat box. And kung ngayon mo lang nalaman, type no on the chat box, please. So I will be able to see kung meron ba akong na-introduce na bagong knowledge o dati na pala, na-refresh ko lang. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, yes. So may nagsabi ng yes, alam na niya. Okay, another, pasensya na medyo biased ako ngayon sa nuclear kasi I'm representing right now not just the science communication, not just as a science communicator. I am here not just a science communicator, but also as a nuclear science communicator. So Marie Curie is one of the most popular lady scientists also, and he's the first to coin the word radioactivity. Nung na-observe niya na ang isang nucleus na unstable, kapag nag-decompose ito ay nagiging more stable pala siya, and it emits certain particles At yung particles na yon tinatawag na electrons or alpha particles. And yun ang tinatawag na radioactivity o radioactive pala siya. And isa sa mga practical things, of course, marami din naging accomplishments si Marie Curie. But one of the things that she did na na-catch yung attention ko is that she developed the mobile radiology machines, which came to be popularly known as the Petite Curie or Little Curies. Okay, ito siya. Ito po yung parang wagon siya. Okay, so sa loob niya ay may mga X-ray machines, I think. So she was able to make X-rays available in any part of the battlefield during the First World War, in which over 1 million wounded soldiers were treated with Curie's X-ray units. O di ba? Andun na yung X-ray, so makikita na kaagad kung ano yung nangyari doon sa kung ano yung damage doon sa isang soldier or sa maraming soldier, di ba? Hindi na sila tatakbo pa kung nasaan yung hospital. But she was able to bring the X-ray machines to where the battle is, and it helped a lot of soldiers during that time. So if you know about this already, type yes on the chat box. And kung ngayon nyo lang nalaman about this mobile X-ray by Marie Curie, type no. Okay, so let's move on. Ayan, ang tanong ko is, sino sa atin dito ang mahilig mag-video call? Kindly raise your hands. Okay. Hindi ko pala nakikita. Okay, mahilig mag-video call. Sino naman po yung napipilitang mag-video call? Kailangan makipag-meeting, di ba? Especially during the pandemic. Napipilitan na tayong matuto kung paano gumamit ng Zoom, paano gamitin yung phone para sa mga video conferencing, etc., etc. But I have a question. When do you think did the video call start? Kailan nagsimula yung video call? Can you type it on the screen? Hindi ko nakikita yung yung ating Facebook. Sa ngayon, di ko pala But kindly type in kung anong year you think nagsimula ang video call. Diba? Or ang phone na meron ng video. Okay, 1968, 1960, 1980s, may question mark? 1930s, okay. Wala na bang may guess? 1970s, 1964, birthday siguro to ng nanay niya. No? Or 1970, 1920s. Hala. Okay, parang malapit-lapit na yung mga iba. Okay, so here, did you know that video calling in the Philippines actually began in wala kang makita dito, wala talaga. Ayan, in the 1950s. O, diba? O, 1800s ang layon. Okay, 1950s. Particularly, the patent on the video phone was filed in 1955 with the name Photo Phone Signal Separator Network. Ang haba. So, ito na yung aking, okay, at 1955, I wasn't even born yet. Pero, ito yung resibo. Ito po yung, yung picture nung scientist and engineer po na nag-develop ng ating video phone na tinawag niya sa napakahabang pangalan. Ayan, no? Wow, di ba? Just wow! Di pa tayo pinapanganak. Most of us here siguro in this Zoom and Facebook lecture ay hindi pa pinapanganak pero meron na palang video phone that time. Di ba? Okay. Di ba kayo mapapawaw? Kung napawaw kayo, please type wow on the chat box or on your comment space or comment section. Yan, may nakita na akong wow, di ba? Hindi pa tayo pinapanganak, meron na pala. So, yan po, nakaka-proud po naman talaga na ang video phone pala ay nagsimula dito sa Pilipinas through Dr. or Engineer Gregorio Zara, who is from Lipa, Batangas. So, ito po siya, and ito po yung isa sa mga resibo ng actual video call niya. Ayan, nakikita niyo yung lumang-lumang phone and the television, pinag-interface niya yon. So, he was then the president of the Fiati University, I think. So, taga-MIT po siya, of course, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Doon po siya nag-aral. Ngayon, ang tanong ko, alam mo na ba ito dati pa o ngayon lang? You know the drill. So you answer yes to the chat box kung alam mo na ito, matagal na. At no, kung ngayon mo lang nalaman. O, ayan, may mga no at mga yes. So of course, meron pa rin ibang bagay where Dr. or Engineer Zara is popular of, known about, and it is the Zara effect, which involves the resistance. Ako, nakaka-nosebleed po ito. Hindi ko na lang babasahin. And of course, yung Earth induction compass niya, which is still being used by pilots. And of course, meron din po siyang ginawa o in-invent na alcohol-powered airplane engine. Ayan. So, maraming alcohol po ngayon. Baka pwedeng revisit itong ginawa ni Engineer Zara. All right. Okay, let's move on. Ito naman ang isa sa mga favorite ko, si Dr. Fe del Mundo. Okay. Si Dr. Fe del Mundo is became world famous because of her research studies on diseases like dengue fever, polio, and measles. And she was able to devise an incubator made of bamboo for use in rural areas. So nakikita niyo po ba itong parang duyan dito po sa ating left? Okay, syempre, yung mga pinapanganak na kulang sa buwan, kailangan mailagay sa incubator, which was only then available in urban areas that time like Manila, Cebu, Baguio, etc. So maraming namamatay din na mga preemies and premature babies, and because walang accessible na incubators. At saka ang mga incubators, alam natin, they are made of glass and they're connected to several electrical devices, ganun, para yung baby ay mag-grow ng maayos dahil kulang nga siya sa buwan. At medyo mababa pa yung kanyang immunity. So, but Dr. Del Mundo was able to make use of a very available material in the countryside, which is the bamboo. Nilagyan niya ito ng something, this one, contraption for the bulb, which will become the source of heat and light for the baby. Okay, so, ayan. Kung alam mo na to dati pa, type yes. Kung alam mo na si Dr. Del Mundo ay naggumawa ng incubator na made of bamboo, type yes on the chat box. And no. Inuulan po tayo ng no. Ayan, type no kung ngayon mo lang nalaman. So I guess, I think, yung mga nakikita ko na napakadaming no, I am happy really na meron kayong natutunan something about our scientists this morning. Ang kanilang mga, kahit ilan lang sa kanilang mga famous na ginawa. Okay, so marami pa tayong scientists. Okay, marami pa tayong scientists sa mundo at sa Pilipinas. And there are many wonderful materials that we can access to read more about their works. And here is one that I was able to find yesterday. Makikita niyo po sa Flip Science. Actually, you can just Google like famous Filipino scientist, ganyan. So itong isa lang material na nakita ko sa Flip Science, ito kay Nico or Michael Francisco. And you can, when you read this stuff there, you can just really say, wow, bakit ang galing nila? Tsaka, bakit ngayon ko lang ito nalaman? Diba? Bakit nga ba ngayon mo lang nalaman ang ginawa ng mga scientists na ito? Apat lang sila sa napakaraming scientists sa buong mundo. At dalawa lang pong Pilipino yung aking na topic ko na introduce o na explain this morning. Okay, so marami pa pong mga scientists tayo, modern day scientists, and their works that will really make you say, wow, and I'm proud to be a Filipino. Okay, so ayan. One barangay here in Mansalay was named after their family, located at Oriental Mindoro. Or were you, maybe Ma'am Catherine was talking about Dr. Del Mundo. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you a very, very simple question. Okay. What is the work of a scientist? Okay. Meron tayong mga choices. A, to discover new knowledge. B, to find solutions to current societal problems. And C, to help people make decisions. D, all of the above, play safe. Or E, none of the above. Which do you think is the correct answer to the question? What is the work of a scientist? Uy, inuulan ng A, D. A at D lang. Ay, meron ding B. Okay, wow. Ang bibilis po ninyo. Congratulations. Okay. If you answered A, makinig yung mga nagsagot ng A, you are correct. Okay, so please click the applause reaction in the chat box. Okay, you are correct. If you said A, ako palang mag-a-applause dapat. Ano? Ayan. And if you answered B, you are also correct. And if you answered C, you are also correct. So keep those claps coming in our chat box. If you answered D, you are 3 times correct. All right. Ayan o, may nagsagot ng D. Narinig yata niya yung D na very correct. Now, if you answered E, baka kakalag-on mo lang dito sa ating lecture and hindi mo napakinggan yung discussion kanina. So it's a good opportunity for you, if you answered E, to listen to our presentations this morning from my topic to the topic of our next speaker, which is really very, very interesting. So, okay. So if we believe that scientists are working hard to discover new knowledge, to find solutions to current societal problems, and to help people make decisions, so why don't we know it? Why don't most people know what they do? Bakit hindi natin alam? Ayan. Because there is what we call this thing that is called science miscommunication. Okay. Bakit science miscommunication? Okay. If you look at the slide, scientists are talking about apples, right? And people on the right are talking about lemons, okay? Or you can also interpret this as people here are thinking that the scientists here are talking about lemons, when actually the scientists are talking about apples. Diba? Funny, diba? Hindi magkatugma. Ang layo naman, di ba? Ito red at saka ito yellow. Tapos ito medyo malamis-namis at saka crunchy. Tapos ito naman medyo may maasim na malamis-namis at iba yung itsura sa loob ng lemon. Di ba? May rinds or something like that. Pero bakit hindi magkatugma ang iniisip ng dalawa? Kasi sinasabi ng scientist, we are making apples for you, we are growing apples for you. Meron kaming ginagawang mga apples para sa inyo. Pero yung public naman sabi niya, wow, gumagawa sila ng lemons. Okay, yeah. Ayun, di ba hindi sila magkatugma? Okay. So if scientists are discovering medicines that treat terrible diseases, di ba alam na natin yan? Okay? And they are developing technologies that improve the way we live our lives and creating systems that help make us decide better. Why don't we know it much? Bakit hindi ito namamarites sa atin? Diba? Iba yung namamarites sa atin, di ba? Yung mga love life, yung mga nag-break, yung mga mag-jowa. Pero yung work ng mga scientists natin na really impact our lives and really affect the way we do things ay hindi natin masyadong alam. Okay. Bakit kaya? Okay. Why is this happening? So it says here, isang rason is that communicating science effectively does not come easily. It is an acquired skill. So hindi ito basta-basta na nagagawa. Ito ay pinapag-aralan, yung pag-communicate na something that is scientific or something about science. Pinapag-aralan ito. Ibig sabihin, yung iba nating mga scientists ay hindi pa masyadong marunong mag-communicate. Yung iba lang po. Pero I'm proud to say na marami na po sa ating mga scientists nowadays ang marunong mag-communicate ng kanilang work. Kaya mas naiintindihan ng tao kung ano yung kanilang ginagawa and how it affects their lives and how it is relevant to them. Okay. Second, bakit hindi na mamarites yung mga ginagawa ng scientists? Ito yung kanina, no? Yung nakita natin. Scientists sometimes speak and think differently from most people. Kaya nga, minsan yung mga scientists natin, yung tinatawag na geeks, nerds, genius, mga ganyan, no? And minsan nakakonsentrate sila sa craft nila, sa kanilang ginagawa, and they are really excellent sa kanilang ginagawa. And sometimes they, kahit kunwari yung ginagawa nila, pwede pala nilang pagkakitaan, no? Minsan, hindi nila naiisip yon because sa kanila parang mas importante, at least maybe to most or to some of them, mas importante yung mag-create ng new knowledge, diba? Mag-create ng something new. Okay. Instead of making money out of what they created. So, nagkakaroon na din po tayo ngayon ng mga courses or mga trainings for our scientists and experts how to become entrepreneurs. Para naman, o kaya paano nila pagkakitaan yung kanilang mga ginagawa. Para naman, meron silang compensation, di ba, sa kanilang ginagawa. Okay. Let's go to number 3. Okay. Sometimes, results of science are insufficient, kulang, ambiguous, medyo hindi clear, or uncertain. Hindi mo alam kung saan ang pupuntahan. Okay. Lalo pa, pag bago pa lang yung isang phenomenon, o pangyayari, wala pang gaanong pag-aaral tungkol dito. Kagaya nung bago pa lang yung COVID. Let's go back to flashback 2020. Okay. Diba ang hirap ng time na yun, no? Our scientists and experts don't know much about COVID. Okay, they don't know much about COVID. At may mga disagreements among our medical experts habang inaaral pa lang nila ang bagong virus na ito. Kaya, at that time, di ba, hindi maraming mga casualties, kasi inaaral pa lang nila at sila mismo, they don't really know much about the virus. Okay, so ang importante at that time talaga ang mag-share ng knowledge ang mga scientists among themselves and to the general public. Okay, so scientific conclusions can change over time as new findings come up. Di ba? Alam na natin to, di ba? Okay, so ang face shield nawala na kasi may mga new findings na mas mas importante yung face mask or something like that, mga alcohol, ganyan. So nag-change yung mga dating na-establish na kapag may bagong knowledge na proven to be more effective or to be better, ay na-face out yung mga dating na nating ginagawa o dating nating alam. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, these factors can create barriers to communication and understanding. Di ba? Kasi nakakagulo, ganyan, nag-change ang mga bagay-bagay habang lumilipas ang mga araw. So dahil magulo nga yan, we need to communicate science. So ito ang tanong ko. Okay, why do we need to communicate science? Okay, number 1 here is to increase appreciation for science and its role in everyday life. Especially po yung impact ng science sa ating quality of life. Ito yung role ng science sa pag-angat ng quality ng buhay ng mga tao. Ito rin po yung may wow aspect ng wow, nagawa nila yan. Ang galing. Yan, so napapamangha tayo sa ganda ng mga developments in S&T. Diba? O imagine, kunwari, noon, yung mga ninuno natin, diba? Gumagamit pa sila ng usok. Yan, mga usok-usok para makipag-usap dun sa kapitbahay nila sa kabilang bundok. Diba? Tapos, nauso yung mga pagsusulat sa mga wall, pagsusulat sa mga leaves, pagsusulat sa mga part ng trees. Nauso yung mga letters, yung mga sulat. O diba? You ask your parents, your titas, diba? Yung mga mahilig mag-pen pal pa noon. Ayan. So, busy-busy ang mga post office noon kasi mahilig pa ang mga tao na magsulat as in talagang handwritten na notes. And then, nauso din yung telegrama at the time for mga rush, no? Mga matatanggap mo yung telegrama mga 3 days. The following day siguro or 3 days, mga ganyan. Pero yung sulat siguro mga weeks. Diba? Ito yung mga 80s pa. At maybe 90s. Ayan, nauso din yung mga beeper. O, alam mo ba kung ano yung beeper? Alam mo ba kung ano yung beeper? Ayan, so mga nakakaalam, ilagay nyo lang sa chat box. Okay. At then, nagkaroon ng mga telepono. Okay, nagkaroon ng phones. And pati yung telepono, nag-improve din. Diba? Dati, talk and text lang. Alam niyo na, yung itsura ng mga telepono dati, diba? So ngayon, namimiss natin yung Nokia 2310, 3310, 3315. Ayan, yan yung mga naunang generation sa Pilipinas. Okay, so dati, talk and text lang yung phone. And then, ngayon, pwede ka nang makipag-usap doon sa kamag-anak mo sa abroad in real time. O diba, dati ang hirap gawin nun. Puro sulat lang. Diba? Pero ngayon, real time, pwede mo lang tawagan si tita, si mami, si daddy, si kuya, si ate. At pwede ka na rin maghanap buhay gamit lang yung telepono. Pwede kang mag-bank transaction. Pwede kang bumili, di ba, sa Shopee at sa Lazada, Bikelemen. Ayan, pwede ka rin magpa-reserve ng ticket. At pati ba naman paghahanap ng jowa? Pwede na rin sa phone. O di ba? Grabe talaga ang technology natin. Okay, so we need to communicate science to increase appreciation for science and its role in everyday life. And another reason why we have to communicate science is to influence people's opinions, behavior, and policy preferences. For example, ano ba ang sinasabi ng siyensya tungkol sa climate change? Okay, kung alam mo na yung tungkol sa climate change, magsusunog ka pa ba ng mga basura mo sa labas? Magsusunog ka pa ba ng mga bagay-bagay sa labas? Mag-i-spray ka pa ba ng buhok mo? Diba, mga ganon. Okay, gagamit ka pa ba ng styrofoam o plastic? O gusto mo na lang yung papel? Diba, na pwedeng mabulok. Okay, pwedeng mabulok at humalo na lang sa lupa. Kung nalaman mong may fault line, okay, very interested ka dito sa isang subdivision na napakaganda ng mga bahay at very affordable yung rates niya. Pero nalaman mong may fault line pala na super malapit o sa tabi ng subdivision, no? Kukuha ka pa ba ng unit dyan sa subdivision na yan? Kaya pag nalaman mo yung isang property na very ay ano yan, accessible sa lahat, mura, at interested ka na bilhin. Pero nalaman mo na, ay, according to the fault finder app, ganyan eh. Okay, according to fault finder app, meron palang malapit dito na fault. Ayan, so magpapatayo ka pa ba ng bahay dito sa area na to? And of course, pag narinig mo si Mang Tani na nagsabi na uulan, mamayang hapon, diba? Ikaw ba ay magpapaparty pa sa iyong backyard? Siyempre, hindi na. At siyempre, pag lalabas ka, kuha ka na ng payong dahil 99% ay uulan. Diba? Sinabi kasi na 100%, 99% ang rainfall. So, kailangan mong ng mga akbang para hindi ka mabasa. Okay, so influence people's opinions, behavior, and policy preferences. Another reason why we need to communicate science is to engage with diverse groups so their perspectives about science, particularly on contentious issues, can be considered in seeking solutions to societal problems that affect everyone. Very important po ito. Halimbawa po dito yung COVID-19 vaccine. Kaya dahil sa mga pag-aaral na effective ito para masawata yung COVID, nagdesisyon ng mga leaders ng mga pamahalaan sa national government and local governments na bumili ng vaccine at himukin yung mga nasasakupan nila na mag-avail ng libreng vaccine. Okay, so ito po yung mga seeking solutions to societal problems, no? Okay, so dati maraming mga ayaw magpa-vaccine. And then nakita nila na, wow, effective pala. At yung iba naman, ay hindi pala ako matatanggap pabalik sa work kung hindi ako nagpa-vaccine or something like that, no? O kaya hindi ako matatanggap sa pinag-a-applyan ko kung hindi ako bakunado, mga ganyan. So, nag-change yung perspective nila na nakita nila na, di ba, compared with 2020 and then this time, 2022, dati, pag sinabing may COVID si ganito, parang death sentence na, di ba? Pero ngayon, pag sinabing may COVID si ganyan, naka-isolate lang, di ba? Kumusta ka na? Ganyan, tawag-tawag dati, hindi pwedeng tawagan, hindi pwedeng makita. Ngayon, pwede naman kaway-kaway sa malayo, di ba? Pwedeng tawagan, pwedeng chat, kasi nandun lang sila sa bahay nila na nag-isolate at maybe receiving some medicines, pero hindi na katulad ng dati na kailangang itakbo mo sa ospital na cramped na masyado, nandun na sila sa labas ng ospital, nasa parking area, at nagkakaubusan ng mga oxygen. So, ganoon ang nangyayari that time. So, another thing na, another contentious issue is yung genetic engineering, diba? So, in genetic engineering, this is where we can use one organism's DNA to improve another organism's traits. Parang nilipat mo yung good trait ni organism A, niligay mo dito kay organism B. Okay, like putting an insect-resistant gene into corn or rice. Diba? So, ito si bacteria, meron siyang gene na nagre-resist ng certain pest. No? Nilagay mo yung gene na yun dun sa rice o sa corn. So, nagresulta to ng mga harvest na maraming yield because nag-improve yung characteristic ng ating crops. So, ayun. So, marami, of course, maraming against dito, and maraming pro, maraming anti. So, pero pag nag-usap-usap, I think, kapag na-communicate ng maayos kung ano ba yung tungkol, yung science behind this thing and the technology behind this thing and where it will lead us, maaaring maayos natin at mabigyan ng solusyon yung ating mga malalaking problema na nakakaapekto sa ating lahat. Okay? All right. So, we learned already at this point why it is important to communicate science and technology. So, ulitin lang natin. Okay. We need to communicate science to increase appreciation for science and its role in everyday life. Ayan. And also to influence people's opinions, behavior, and policy preferences. And lastly, to engage with diverse groups so their perspectives about science can be considered in seeking solutions to societal problems that affect everyone. Okay. So now we learned the importance of communicating science to various audiences, to various people. Now let's check how science is communicated. Okay, ways to ways of communicating science. Okay, we identified here 3 ways of communicating science. First is through scholarly publications. Ito po yung mga journals and research papers kung saan yung ating mga experts, scientists, and those in the academe, sila po ay nagsasubmit ng mga papers para ma-publish sa mga journals at mabasa po ng ibang mga experts, and they will learn more about those things na na-publish, no, sa kanilang field or sphere. Okay? And another way of communicating science is through technical means. Ito yung mga technical reports, di ba? Mga kunwari country report on the status of vaccination in Pasig City, country report tapos Pasig City. In the Philippines, so yung mga ganyan. Status of of polio incidences in the Philippines, mga ganyan, sa mga technical report. And how-tos, ito yung mga how-tos, no? Yung mga manual, how to do things, ayan, yung mga yan. And another way of communicating science is through popular methods in the form of news, press releases, videos, graphics, magazines, etc. Others. Ito po yung popular way of communicating science. Okay. So later, my friend Shaira, yan, hi Shaira, nag-chat ako sa'yo, will share to us very interesting things about visuals and media as tools in science communication. Diba? Nakaka-excite, di ba? Ako excited na akong makinig kay Shai. Okay, so bago tayo makinig kay Shai, here's a table that details the differences among the scholarly, among science communication. Okay. Differences among scholarly writing, technical writing, and popular writing. Yung kanina, yung ating previous slide. So, tingnan lang natin. Magkakaiba sila ng purpose, basic form, nature, and audience. So, makikita natin dito sa scholarly writing. Ito yung mga journals, no? It's mainly the purpose is to generate knowledge. So kung ikaw, kunwari, ikaw ay isang doktor, pupunta ka doon sa mga journal, babasahin mo kung ano yung mga latest na na-find out ng iyong mga peers. Diba? Like kunwari, what is the best way to manage this very new disease, or ano yung bagong-bagong way of doing things, of treating this kind of disease or managing this kind of disorder, ganyan. So, doon mo titingnan sa journals. And that is scholarly writing. And that's still science communication. Sa technical writing naman, information exchange. So, ano bang meron dyan at anong meron kami? Palitan tayo. Okay. Ito yung status dito sa Metro Manila. Yan naman, ano yung status naman dyan sa Cebu, ganyan. O sa Cagayan de Oro, di ba? Yung mga ganun, information exchange. And ilan ba ang students ninyo na underweight? Yan. So sa amin ganito at ganito yung ginawa namin. So yung mga technical writing and how to do things. This falls under technical writing. And of course, dun sa popular writing naman, which you will be embarking on in a little while, information utilization. Ginagamit na natin yung mga information na yon. We are translating them into knowledge or into into information that people can understand, di ba? So yun. So ano yung na-generate kunwari dito at dito, ida-digest ni science communicator para maintindihan ng general public o yung mga iba't ibang audiences. Okay? Sa form naman, magkakaiba. Of course, sa journals, original research article. Okay, dapat nanggaling mismo dun sa researcher o dun sa expert. And dun naman sa technical writing, technical yung literature. Kung hindi ka engineer, wag mo na lang basahin dahil mag-nosebleed ka lang o wala kang maintindihan, di ba? Mga ganon. Kung hindi ka kunwari ay ano pa ba? Physicist. Kung hindi ka physicist, wag mo na lang basahin dahil wala ka ring maintindihan. All right. Tapos sa popular writing naman, ang form niya is always popular publication. Alam na natin yan, di ba? Magazines, videos, websites, kaya yung naiintindihan ng most of the people. Nature of treatment, paano naman yung approach nung sa scholarly writing sa journal. Okay, you are considered as a specialist, kaya ka nga nagsulat nito. Dahil ikaw ay isang expert, ikaw ay isang specialist ng bagay na sinulat mo. Okay? And sa technical writing, you are a semi-specialist. At pag sa popular writing, ikaw ay non-specialist. Parang ako at karamihan sa atin. Tayo ay mga laymen, di ba? Okay. So, hindi tayo mga scientists, hindi tayo engineers. Okay. So, kaya, the way we speak to other people regarding science will be we will not talk like engineers or like scientists, but we will just talk like ourselves, di ba? Yung normal na conversation wherein yung mga science concepts ay naipapaintindi natin sa mga laymen na katulad natin. Audience, iba rin magkakaiba yung audience sa scholarly writing. Ang audience nila mostly are scientists, researchers, at sa technical writing naman, mga engineers and mga technicians. Okay? At sa popular writing, an audience ay general public, although hindi na masyadong ginagamit ngayon ng general public dahil we really have to segmentize our audience. Okay, so pwedeng youth, pwedeng farmers, end users, pwedeng college students, pwedeng young professionals. Okay, so that's the way how we segmentize our audience in popular writing. Okay. And other pagkakaiba ng science communication. Sa scholarly writing, your goal is to have a scientific progress. Sa technical naman, may apply mo yung mga technology, maintindihan ng mga tao kung paano gamitin ang isang bagay, kunwari. And sa popular writing naman, our goal is to have awareness, for people to be aware and for them to use that knowledge to improve their lives, no? Practical science literacy. Diba? Alam mong may bagyo, o di magdala ka ngayon ng payong. Huwag kang gumala, diba? Something like that. And other forms of scholarly writing, we have scientific books, reviews, monographs, and even annual reports. Technical writing also. Other forms are technical report, we have bulletins, manuals, research proposals, seminar paper, and bibliographies. At sa popular writing, ito na yung mga forms ng communicating science through popular means. We have the news, feature articles, popular bulletins, kasi may mga bulletins na hindi popular, na hindi laymanized. Okay, we can also use the comics and other illustrated literature. Can also use movie and broadcast scripts and even press releases. Okay? So, wait lang. Let me go back. Oh, ayun na bumalik. Okay. So, yun lang. Reiterate ko lang that communicating science can be done through scholarly writing, through technical means or technical writing, and through popular means. Okay, so tatlo yan. Tatlo yan na way how we can communicate science. Okay, So some important notes. Okay. Some important notes that we should always remember. Okay. Science communication can be done this way. Scientist to scientist, pwedeng mag-usap ng dalawang expert, dalawang scientist. That is science communication also. Yung parang kanina, yung sa journals. Scientist to audience. Okay. Pwede rin ang ating scientist ay makipag-usap sa atin. Targeted na audience, so pwedeng general public. So nowadays we can see many scientists talking to us via the media or via small groups, diba? So nakakatuwa na marami ng scientists natin ngayon ang marunong nang makipag-communicate sa iba't ibang klase ng audience. Even to our policy makers. Kaya na rin nilang makipagbakbakan doon at ma-explain yung mga scientific concepts and how developments and how they can be related to policy making. And of course, science communication pwede rin yung media to audience. Ayan, general public na lang nilagay ko. Pero actually, yeah, we do general public, pero mas maganda na nakasegmentize yung audience natin. Okay, so ito yung mga different ways how we scientists and the media can communicate science. Okay? And of course, there is this challenge in communicating science. Okay? There are many competing voices that seek to use science for conflicting ends. Magkakaiba ng interest. Ano ba yan? Diba? Dito, makikita natin na minsan, iba-iba ang opinion ng mga scientists. No? Iba ang opinion ng scientists at businessmen. Okay? Halimbawa, yung kunwari sa usapin na breastfeeding. No? Sa usaping breastfeeding, magkaiba yung sasabihin ng doctor, diba? Especially yung mga para sa bata, mga pedya natin, iba yung sasabihin nila at iba rin yung sasabihin ng businessmen, di ba? Sasabihin nila, oh, ito yung milk namin, fortified with the A to Z, minerals, vitamins, and minerals, blah, blah, blah. Importante to para maging matalino yung mga anak nyo, di ba? Mga ganyan-ganyan ang sinasabi nila. Pero iba naman ang sinasabi ng mga doctors because of many conflicting interests. Okay, that is one of the challenges in communicating science. Okay, may kanya-kanya kasi silang hugot at interest at minsan na hindi nagtutugma. Yung dapat ay harmonious knowledge generated by science. Okay, and then, ano itong mga nagraran sa akin? Chat. Okay. All right. And number 3, note, people interpret information from various sources. People interpret information from various sources. And these are affected by their trust in the source, their existing knowledge, and their beliefs. Halimbawa, sa isang survey on credibility, mas maraming tao ang nagtatrust o naniniwala sa mga educators kesa sa mga politicians, di ba? May ano na yan, parang general ano na yan na mas naniniwala sila sa sinasabi ni sir o ni ma'am kesa ni mga politicians in general, di ba? And this is why it is very important to address these issues on trust and of course sa existing knowledge and beliefs, no? Ano ba yung paniniwala minsan may nauunang maling information bago makarating yung tamang information, no? So, yung tao nagkakaroon na tuloy ng bias, no? Di ba? Na ito kasing una na information na dumating sa akin and then here you come and tell me this thing. So, yun yung mga nakaka-affect dun sa ating pag-communicate ng science kapag may nauna ng knowledge. And of course, yung beliefs, isa dito yung of course yung mga superstitious beliefs and indigenous beliefs na nandun na sa tao Since lumaki siya, yun na yung pinapaniwalaan niya. And then here you come as a science communicator and introducing a completely new something, or maybe yung another version of what they currently believe in. So these are the things that we should note in when we communicate science. So people interpret information from various sources, and these are affected by their trust in the source, by their existing knowledge, and their existing beliefs. So this is why communicating science is very important. O diba? Naka-all caps. Okay, very important. Communicating science effectively, however, is a complex task and an acquired skill. Okay. So, related po ito dun sa sinabi kanina ni Yusek Sancho that science must be open, available, and accessible to the people. However, those who are communicating science must always remember that communicating science is a complex task and it is an acquired skill. So, pinapag-aralan ito at medyo komplikado. Sabi po ito ni National Academies Press. Okay. So, I guess that's all I have to share today, and these are my sources. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you learned something in our discussion. So ito po yung ito po yung mga sources ko. And yeah, so thank you so much, and you may type your questions in the chat box and I will answer them, or email me dito po sa ating, dyan sa nakalagay sa slide. Very short naman, madaling i-memorize. And I commit to respond to your questions as soon as I can. So thank you very much to everyone. At sa muli, isang makaagham na umaga sa ating lahat. Yeah, thank you so much.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Fram, for the very engaging discussion about the importance of science communication. So to our attendees, feel free to chat us via Zoom chat or FB Live comment section for your questions. Ma'am Fram will be answering them after our second speaker. So before that, we would like to acknowledge our attendees as well, from Ismael Mathay Senior High School, St. Louis de Marilac College of Sorsogon, DMMSU, NLU. So guys, we are a solid 185 attendees in our Zoom platform. Grabe, kasama natin ang mga kaagaham natin all over the country. And dahil ang dami natin ngayon, please take a selfie of yourself as proof that you are watching us via Zoom or via FB Live, and caption it with at least 3 things you have learned today. Make sure the post is in public, and don't forget to use the hashtags #DOST10MasticWinner1 and 1DOST4U, and tag DOST10 FB page on your post. You will then get a chance to win surprise promotional items from DOST10. And also, don't forget to share our live stream via FB Live. So may I request our technical team to chat in our Zoom chat box our official hashtags for today's webinar. And also, please don't forget to accomplish the activity evaluation after our webinar. We'll be posting on the chat box the link for the evaluation, and we will be sending out the certificates to those who have accomplished the said form. So before we proceed to our next resource person, virtual energy level check to our attendees in Zoom and FB Live. So please send in our Zoom chat box or in our Facebook comment section for any emoji that would describe how you feel right now after hearing our first resource speaker. So kindly chat in our chat box, any feeling that would describe you right now. Ayan po, ang dami na pong nagsasend ng kanilang emoji sa ating chat box, and also in our FB Live, no, our attendees are very engaging. And I hope everyone is now excited to hear our next input. So again, for our webinars, Pakulo, to win surprise promotional items from DOST10, please take a selfie of yourself as proof that you are watching our Zoom or FB Live and caption it with at least 3 things that you have learned today. And make sure that the post is in public, and don't forget to use the official hashtags for our webinar today. And also don't forget to tag the DOST10 Facebook page on your post. Now, to keep the ball rolling, our second speaker is a multi-awarded science writer and editor. She is a freelance science journalist for almost 10 years. Currently, she is working as the Media Relations and Social Influence Specialist of the International Rice Research Institute. To share us how to bring science closer for the people through visuals and media, let's all welcome Miss Ruby Shaira Panela. Magandang agham, Miss Ruby, and the virtual floor po is now yours. And you may now share po your presentation. Good morning po, ma'am.
Good morning, Clark. Good morning, everyone. Teka lang ha, mag-share lang ako ng screen. Okay. Lalabas ko lang yung chat box para kita ko. Okay. Yan. Salamat dun sa presentation ni Ate Fram kanina. Marami tayong natutunan. I actually miss doing this with Ate Fram in person kasi parang yung huli na magkasama kami nito na magkasama talaga kami sa seminar, hindi webinar, ay sa Urdaneta pa yata sa Pangasinan. That was several kilos ago, Char. So, ayun. For this presentation, so yung title is Mind the Graph, Bringing Science Closer to the People Through Visuals and Media. Please bear with me, medyo marami yung slides tapos panay images, pero yung iba kasi parang hindi na ako naglagay masyado na examples kasi self-explanatory. But we'll try to guide you through the entire presentation para meron tayong mga takeaways pa rin. Ayun. So Mind the Graph. Actually, nakita ko to, meron palang website na tumutulong na makagawa ng infographics for scientific content. So mindthegraph.com. So may mga free templates sila pero meron din silang paid version para makagawa kayo ng infographics about scientific content. Hindi ito sponsored, natuwa lang ako kasi meron palang specific talaga for science content na infographic platform. So, ayan. Konting papakilala, So, katulad ng sinabi ni Vince Clark kanina, ako yung reyna ng bigasan ngayon, Char. So, I work at ERI starting the earlier part of this year as a media relations specialist and social influence. So, but outside of that, I work in science communication in different aspects. So, hindi lang agriculture yung natatakal ko. For the past 12 years, bata pa tayo pero matagal na sa industriya. So, I've worked in the fields of journalism, marketing, public relations, research, then even doing in nonprofits then as writer, editor, strategist, and consultant for different organizations and institutions. So, yung background ko, hindi lang siya pagsulat. I used to work also in a television network. I've dabbled in a little bit of photography in the past when I was younger. And I work with artists a lot, especially kapag dun sa mga iba't ibang klase na ng communications products. So, ayun. kung meron kayong separate device, if you can go to menti.com and type the code that you can see on the screen. So just check lang, vibe check lang. When you think about science, what images comes to mind? So ayan. 2614737, kunwari radio announcer ako, radio DJ. So sa menti.com, let me see kung may sagot na. So ayan, when you think about science, what images comes to mind? Telescope, atom. Si Atom Araulio ba ang tinutukoy natin? Or atom as in yung particle? Pwede naman both. Yan, laboratory, microscope, DNA, molecules. Nice! Ang dami, no? Lab gowns, Earth, telescopes, satellites. Interesting. Pero marami yung talagang atom, microscope, DNA, laboratory. Dun sa mga batang 90s, dun sa audience, so yung atom kasi very prominent yan, especially nung panahon natin na meron lalo na sineskwela. Kasi yung nakikita nating image, pag sinabing science, sineskwela, so may atom, may electron na umiikot. Tapos ngayon, DNA, yes, laboratory, scientist. Alright, thank you. Balik tayo dun sa presentation. Okay. So, what you can see in the screen is a tweet by a French scientist na, yes, sabing ganun, sabi niya daw yung Proxima Centauri, yung star na James Webb, nakuna ng James Webb Space Telescope, pero actually it's not. It's a chorizo, it's a salami. It's a type of Spanish sausage. Pero it caused a lot of ruckus online. Kasi yung iba kasi, they got the joke. So, nilagyan ng background, ginawang meme, same salami, different angle. Pero merong iba kasi na parang they felt offended by the image kasi wala daw disclaimer na false information or joke yon, di ba? Parang, so, ganon. It just goes to show na, well, different people have different types of humor, and different people have different levels of appreciation of what an image is and how it looks like. So, ayun. So, kinailangan niya magpaliwanag, no? Na maraming hindi nakaintindi ng joke. So, nag-apologize siya kasi hindi naman yun yung intent niya. Actually, what he did was to encourage people to question and not automatically accept yung images na makikita nila from people na may level ng authority. Kasi di ba parang we trust, meron tayong mga trustworthy sources of information, especially pag science. So maniniwala tayo sa scientist. For example, kapag weather, kanina tayo naniniwala kay Mang Tani. Tapos kapag may kinalaman sa wildlife environment, gusto natin narinig si Kuya Kim. Ganyan. Pero hindi, porkit sinabi ni Kuya Kim o ni Mang Tani, laging paniniwalaan natin. Dapat meron pa rin sort of level ng konting scrutiny. So, yeah. So a little bit of optics lang. How do we process visual information? So kung nga, di ba sa sineskwela, di ba sabi, pagka nakita natin yung isang image, yung isang bagay, yung pag-bounce ng light doon sa bagay na yun yung tumutulong para yung image na yon maipasok yung information sa loob ng mata natin tapos babasahin ng utak natin yung signals. Yung nasa gitna ng mata natin yung pupil para siyang butas na lumalaki at lumiliit depende dun sa ilaw, sa level ng ilaw na meron tayo. So, very important na kapag nagpa-process tayo ng visual information, that there is enough light that we see. Kasi pag dark, wala na tayong makikita ulit yan. Okay. So, what are we going to talk about? So, kanina nag-introduce lang ng konti. Ang rundown ng topics natin is importance and benefits of visualization, understanding your why, examples, strategies, and then guidelines and tips. So, importance and benefits ng visualization. Bakit ba mahalaga na merong visualization na hindi lang words yung nakikita? So una, visuals capture the audience attention faster than words can. So we process visual information in a blink of an eye, like 150 milliseconds for an image, while and it takes us like 100 milliseconds to process it. So itong study na to, itong data na to galing pa to sa isang 1996 study sa France. And kapag nakakita tayo, halimbawa, 'di ba, pag nakakita tayo ng mapa, automatically we know that we're looking at directions. We find landmarks. And easily, mas madalit natin ma-process yung information kaysa sabihin mo, kaysa pag binigyan lang tayo ng instruction na pag nakita mo yung ganitong kanto, kaliwa ka, 3 hakbang, punta ka sa kanan. So, mahirap yun, di ba? So, mas madali kung may mapa. Like, Waze, Google Maps, among others. Number 2, image speaks more than words. Visuals help make people make complex topics more understandable. So, may power yung imagination and creativity ng mga tao. That's why yung mga billboards sa kalsada, yung mga print ads, even yung ads sa social media are very effective. Kasi isang tingin lang, nagigets mo agad kung ano yung ibig sabihin. Number 3, so visuals stick in long-term memory. So, we store memory in chunks. Sabi dun sa isang study, ang mga tao, nakakapag-retain lang siya ng 10 to 20% of written or spoken information, but 65% of visual information. So, di ba, between 10 to 20% and then 65%. So, kaya mas madali mag-retain ng information kapag visual siya. Sometimes, we can't remember the names of people, but we remember their faces. So, ganon yung like kind of clear example of how it works. Another one, visuals cut through the noise online. So, sabi nga, our brains are wired to take in a huge quantity of visual data. Yung mata daw natin, kayang mag-register ng 36,000 visual messages per hour. Pero yung average reading capacity lang natin is 250 words per minute, which means like around 15,000 words per hour. So that's less than half of the visual capacity that we can process. So right now, it's easier to digest big data if they are visualized rather than if we read chunks of text. Number 5, visual cues trigger emotions. When we talk about climate change, it's hard to visualize yung 1 degree Celsius na pagtaas ng temperature versus the 1.5 degrees Celsius na pagtaas ng temperature at the end of the century. What is clear and what is easily imaginable for us is that the impacts of climate change are already being felt in different parts of the world. Gaano ka-visual? Nakikita natin kung right now, as we're doing this conversation, yung baha sa Pakistan has already submerged around a third of the country. So kapag na-imagine nyo yung image ng baha, alam nyo agad na yes, this is resulting from climate change. And automatically, you would feel something, some level of empathy or sympathy toward the people who are affected by the floods. So, but wrong visuals or incorrect use of visuals can deter learners. Kasi maraming iba't ibang maling paggamit ng visuals. Katulad ng halimbawa, you're looking at stock photos. May magagandang stock photos online. Pero meron kasi na alam mong stage yung, halimbawa, you're talking about a scientist, tapos nakita mo lang naka-white na lab gown inside a white room. So definitely, that person doesn't look like a scientist, it looks like a model. Empty masyado yung laboratory and so on and so forth. Meron ding mga generic graphics na parang very boring. Kapag sinabi mong tawag dito, kapag nagpakita ka ng flowcharts, tapos wala man lang difference yung shapes, tapos yung arrows are pointing into one direction lang. Hindi mo nakikita yung relationship ng isang process toward the other. Hindi mo nakikita yung relationship ng isang element toward the other. So, parang hindi na-imagine. Poor quality images, mga pixelated, mababa yung resolution, saturated ng ilaw, overly compressed, tapos iba yung parang na-shrink, ganyan, mali yung pagkaka-resize, mali yung pagkaka-crop. So, yung mga ganon, parang imbes na mas maintindihan mo yung message, para ang matatandaan mo yung everything that is wrong in that image. So, so those are the importance and benefits of visualization in science. The next step is when you're communicating science, because visuals is a form of communication pa rin naman, you should understand your why. So ano ba yung purpose mo? Bakit mo ba ginagawa ito? So bakit ka ba nagko-communicate ng message na to? So is this to spread knowledge? Is this to influence policy and decision making? Is this to entertain people? Is this to promote the appreciation of science? Among others. So marami kang pwedeng purpose, pwedeng marami din all at the same time. But it is important that you know why you're doing this to be able to apply skills and techniques that are more appropriate for what you're doing. So, what makes a good science visualization? Punta ulit kayo sa Menti, tapos type ulit yung same na code, 2614737. Ayaw niya mag-move. Teka lang. Ayan, what makes a good science visualization? 2614737 sa Menti. Check lang natin kung ano yung idea nyo, what makes a good science visual. Ano yung hinahanap nyo kapag tumitingin kayo ng science visualization, infographic man yan, photograph, cartoons, memes. Okay. So what we're seeing is easily understandable, engaging, visually appealing, catchy and clear, real pics, relatable, tells you what you need to know but with impact, evokes certain emotion, concise, layman's terms, catchy but not crowded, videos. Yeah. Maraming nagsabi dun sa easily understandable, simple yet clear. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to the next part of the presentation. So examples of visual, scientific visualizations. So hindi, papakita ko yung ibang mga nakakatuwang examples, tapos konting tidbits about them. So some history, this is the first documented visual representation of a statistical data. So in 1644, a Flemish astronomer, Michael Florent van Langren, created a line graph na pinapakita niya yung different estimates ng magkakaibang astronomer dun sa distance ng Toledo tsaka ng Rome. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's interesting kasi he could have done a bar graph, pero instead, he put everything in a single line and show the difference dun sa estimates nila. Diba? So, it's cool kasi parang this is the start of visualizing information. So, that was 1644. And line graphs are still very useful to this day. This one naman is by Florence Nightingale. It's called the Rose Chart. Florence Nightingale is known as the founder of modern nursing. Even the way that she did her chart is actually modern already. Kasi ginagamit pa rin yung style na to dun sa paggawa natin ng charts these days. Area charts, yan. So, diagram of the causes of mortality in the army in the East. Yung blue ay mga preventable diseases. Yung red ay wounds. Tapos yung black is everything else. So, pinapakita niya dito ng mas malinaw kung ano yung mas maraming cause ng disease. It's easy to visualize. Yun nga lang kasi parang it's interesting kasi the visualization is really nice. But we know for a fact na at this day and age, yung italics na font sa legend will not work. Kasi masakit na siya sa matang basahin kapag sa screen matagal na siyang basahin. But this is really interesting. Yung dalawang image, yung kanina tsaka yung ngayon, meron book nung 2020 si Murray Dick, The Infographic, A History of Data Graphics and in News and Communication. It's one of the things that I want to buy, but it's $35. So nagkukuripot pa ako, kaya hindi ko pa binibili. So this one is an example of an ancient map. So the oldest surviving world map, Babylonian map. Interesting yung pag-appreciate nila ng images, tsaka they know that, the world, the earth is spherical, it's circular. Ngayon nga may flat earthers eh. So, this one naman is sa The Washington Post by a Filipino cartographer and graphics journalist, si Hannah Dormido. She's a friend of mine. Where lightning strikes the most in the United States in 2021. So this one is yung rendered image using a mapping platform. Pero kasi, Hannah is also known for hand drawing maps using a dot work. So, ang tawag dito is Dormi dots, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's the same map, pero magkaiba siya ng execution. It's nice kasi you would know na aling states yung may mas mataas na concentration ng lightning. It says something about their climate and temperature. Okay, illustrations. I like illustrations a lot in science. Kasi even in scientific journals, yung pag may artistic representation yung isang ancient species or isang let's say celestial object na hindi natin ma-imagine or isang particle na hindi pa natin nakikita ever. Kapag may artistic rendering, it helps you imagine what the scientists are trying to say, what the scientists have been studying. So, I just put this side by side. So, 1977, ang pagkakakilala natin sa Velociraptor ay very reptilian, So, pero by 2020, we know that they are feathered. They are closer to their descendants, yung mga chickens. And actually, itong Velociraptor nito, this is closer to the Jurassic Park image of a Velociraptor. And the Jurassic Park Velociraptor version is actually based on a different species, a much larger species of dinosaur. So, ayan. Pero ang ganda nung pati yung colors nung 1977 dun sa book. Yeah. Tapos, naalala ko, parang a few months ago, I was trying to get some opinion from my other science communicator friends. Sabi ko, parang gusto ko ng tattoo ng dinosaur. Sabi ko, Velociraptor. Sabi ko, what will I use? Which image will I use? Is it the Jurassic Park version, the 1980s Velociraptor, or do I use the 2020 version of a Velociraptor? Tapos parang nisip ko kasi mas menacing yung yung Jurassic Park, and it calls to the pop culture element. But at the same time, kasi mas scientifically accurate, at least as of this period, yung my feathers. So, tapos parang, so what will I choose? Sabi ko, at the very least, I wanted kasi to be an image that will represent my work as a science communicator and something that my pamangkins will like to see whenever they see me as a conversation starter dun sa mga bata. Kasi it's, dinosaurs. Pero ayun, up until now, hindi pa rin ako makadesign. So, next one is sort of a field guide, a drawing by Charles Darwin himself of bird species that he has seen, that he has observed and studied in the Galapagos Islands. During the 18th century, 17th century, uso yung mga field guides. Tapos may mga anatomically correct na mga animals and plants, botanical drawings, and they are really beautiful kasi the details, the line work is really interesting. So like this, ayan, si Sarah Drake is one of the female illustrators at the time. Kapag punta kayo sa National Museum, may mga ganito pa yung mga field guides, mga botanical drawings. Botanical illustrations are very important kasi it helps figure out the anatomy of the plants, and it helps the naturalists, the environmentalists identify the species when they go into the woods, into the forests, and find the location of these particular plants. And one of our national heroes, Dr. Jose Rizal, is a naturalist himself, was a naturalist himself, and he has named, animal species, and he has drawn some. So this was an illustration of a stingray. Yeah, another type of illustration is like composite image, and like a representation of a concept or a phenomenon or an idea. Popular ito sa mga science magazines as covers, and tapos it just helps us visualize what the story is all about. So for example, this one sa Science Magazine is medyo whimsical, medyo humorous na pag-anthropomorphize ng organelles sa loob ng cell. So we know that this is a cell and these are the different parts. If you're on Netflix, I hope you have watched the anime Cells at Work. It's a really cute anime about how cells work. So my T cells, my white blood cells, yung platelets, mga little kids, it's really cute. And it's a good form of science communication then in fiction. So this one naman is from a scientific journal. This is showing you a graph of the evolution or the development of sequencing the human genome. So from 2000s to 2020s. So makita natin na it's almost complete with 3.05 billion DNA pairs. So madaling makita na malaki yung itinawid from 2008 to 2020. Why? Because of supercomputers, yung mas powerful na mga computers. This one, wag niyo nang basahin yung text. Kinopya ko lang yung mismong text doon sa journal article mismo. So this one is a figure naman about a virus from SARS-CoV virus from bats. Okay, wait. Balik natin. From bats. So, composite yung figure na to kasi may map ka, may image ka, tapos may graph ka, and then may sort of like a, what to call this, genome tree. So you will see the relationship of the different genomes, and then this one is letter D is phylogenetic tree. Yeah, so yun. These types of information naman are generated through computers. So if we're laymanizing, kasi this was meant to be read by their peers, by scientists themselves. So the goal here is to provide accurate and complete and comprehensive information to show how they did their study. So sila naiintindihan nila yan. Tayo might be may level of difficulty. So this one naman are 3D rendering of the bones and the teeth of the fossils of Homo lusinensis, the human species found in Cagayan in 2019, which has been the front page of Nature. Nature is one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world. So next is an infographic. We're familiar with infographic. We see them a lot, especially online. And this one is by NASA about the Artemis 1 moon rocket. So most powerful rocket NASA built to date. So in an infographic, they try to like make it comprehensive to include as much as information as they can within a single image. But a good infographic is not overwhelming kasi you can read the story. So from top to bottom, left to right, you will be able to identify what it's talking about. But remember, no, kapag nagbabasa tayo, yung difference ng font sizes, ng directions, ng lines, kung saan tumuturo yan, it helps us read. And we have to be strategic in how to organize our elements in a single image kapag gumagawa tayo ng infographic. Okay, another example of infographic naman is about ichthyosaurs, so an ancient marine dinosaur. So this was for Nature, the journal that I've told you about. They also have a magazine kasi. It's better read dun sa magazine kasi kita mo may maliliit na text na hindi natin mababasa ngayon. So, the illustration is somewhat, I would say, consistent and faithful to what the studies have been saying about ichthyosaurs. Tapos, may comparison dito with other marine dinosaurs and marine creatures. And then, we can see the evolution here. So, may kompletong information and it tells the story. May accompanying article to, pero even with just focusing on the infographic, you can identify, you can understand what the story is all about. Photograph. So, photographs are very helpful in helping us visualize what the science is. So this one is an electron microscope image of a SARS-CoV virus. Tapos, ito ay cultured sa isang lab. This is from the US. This was taken, I think, in 2020. Sa Flickr ko to nakita. Sa Flickr kasi maraming Creative Commons images. Creative Commons meaning you can use them kasi public domain. So, yung color kasi scientists put color on them to identify the different parts of the organisms and organisms themselves. So this was a cell and then the virus. So this one naman is an image of a black hole in a distant galaxy. So 55 million light years away na galaxy. This was taken in 2019. But if you look at the next image taken in 2022, it is a much bigger, well, hindi lang dahil sa mas malaki yung kinuha kong image, ano, pero ibig sabihin, medyo mas malinaw siyang image ng black hole. And this one is at the center of our galaxy. So, it's by the same group, the EHT collaboration. So, first, this is the first direct visual evidence na merong black hole sa gitna ng Milky Way. Yeah, comics. This one is by Manik Sabera. I think he does this in partnership with the Department of Science and Technology Science Education Institute, SEI. So, mostly parang Kiko Machine Comics kasi is parang slice of life. So ito parang slice of life ng isang scientist. Comics are usually intended to be humorous, to be funny. So ito kasi parang mahalaga yung ginagawa ng scientist pero parang kebs lang yung yung parent ganyan. Tapos or like sa online ganyan tapos yung parents lang yung may pakialam. So some years ago, one of my high school classmates from abroad took a vacation here in the Philippines. Tapos parang nag-mini reunion kami. Tapos at that time kasi very active ako mag-post ng mga science stories na nababasa ko. Tapos parang nilalagyan ko siya ng konting caption sa Facebook. Tinatranslate ko into Filipino kasi syempre karamihan naman English, di ba, ng mga sinusulat. Tapos parang pinapaliwanag ko ng very, very light yun. Tapos sabi nung classmate ko na yun, sabi niya, uy, ikaw, kumusta ka na? Kasi nakikita ko yung mga post mo, very pang matalino. Parang I had a sunken feeling that time. Kasi I was trying to communicate it to lay people. Pero kasi parang ang perception pa rin nila pag sinabing science is pang matalino. And we're trying to change that nga eh. You know, na maiba yung perception and appreciation sa science. So this one is sa Bird and Moon comics. Random yun, maraming klase ng comics sa birdandmoon.com. So this is about climate change. Si David Attenborough, Jonathan Jarius, National Park Service. Tapos, ang funny kasi parang some quotes about climate change, pero kasi diba, these are all humans talking about like the effects of climate change. Pero syempre kung yung wildlife, ano ba yung kaya nilang sabihin, diba? Parang hindi naman like how can they be, how can we understand them? This one is from Cartoon Stock. Yung Bird and Moon nga pala is a multi-awarded cartoon series for science. Yan. Tapos, itong Cartoon Stock is by Megan Herbert in 2020. Tapos, ayun, yun. Epidemiology is now in self-help. Kasi this was done at the height of the pandemic. Politics is in sci-fi, ganyan. Star Wars. Flowchart. So I didn't put like very elaborate and complicated flowchart. Just put this one kasi simple. So parang if you read this, I should cook more. Pero cycle kasi siya, cyclical. So you can start anywhere. But since left to right, top to bottom ang pagbasa natin, so, ayan. Ay, balik natin. I should cook more by ingredients, ganyan. So, pag tingnan nyo sa flowcharts, importante yung shapes. Kapag pare-parehong quadrilateral yan, or square or rectangle, it should be in a verb form, di ba? Pero kapag choice siya, naka-diagonal siya. Tapos, ayan yung process in the direction. You will see the relationship of each elements clearly. This one is a type of doodle, visual summaries. I have two examples, both from two different Filipino groups, Filipino firms that creates visual summaries. So what they do usually is either they participate, they attend a workshop, and then they will take notes and create a visual summary of the proceedings or what has been discussed during the workshop. Pwedeng ito yung sa day 1 lang, or pwede rin naman yung like the entire workshop, ganon. So the goal is to capture kung ano yung mga takeaway points visually. Hindi lang siya simple note-taking. So ayun, Pushpin Visuals is headed by one of the people that I've met then in Science Communications, Albert Orr. He also illustrates for comics and children's books, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, Pushpin Visuals. So this is about Clean Energy Forum in 2016. So the question is, how can you best accelerate clean energy startups everywhere? So, ayan. So ito yung parang mga takeaway. Yan. And then another example. So makikita nyo, merong different, parang tatlong kulay lang siya. Black, green, and red. Tapos, it has like icons and images to help you identify kung tungkol saan yon. Tapos, if it's a quote, and if it's a concept, so nakalagay din. So, may mga visual cues para mas maintindihan yung pinag-uusapan. This one is by Tofu Creatives. It's another group. This is from the ASEAN Center of Biodiversity. The other one, if I'm not mistaken, is from ADB. Hindi ako nagkakamali. Hindi ako sure. Yata. So yun. This one is from ASEAN Center of Biodiversity. So this one is about transformative change and innovations in biodiversity conservation. So ayan, naka-group, parang may Venn diagram, naka-separate yung mga different themes, like ito, change assessment, depending on presentation to, I believe, like of Ana Maria Hernandez. This one is transformative change through ecological civilization, innovation. So, yeah. Simple din, like yung color are konti lang. May isang theme, tapos meron lang siyang background. And then, it's basically digital doodle ng mga takeaways mo sa notes mo tungkol dun sa isang forum, ganyan, or workshop. So, next part is, yan, sana nakikinig pa kayo, strategies for visual communication. Ayun. I think na sabi to ni Ate Fram kanina, know your audience. It's important kasi na yung, alam niyo ba, yung mga images kasi, it's very cultural eh. May niche yan. Hindi lahat ng image mag-work sa lahat. Kasi pwede kasing iba yung meaning ng particular image kapag pinakita mo sa iba. So we have to make sure that all the visual elements represent, or at least they have a particular social, cultural, political, and to some extent economic purpose. Kasi yung meaning nga yung meaning kasi wala tayo halos, parang as the creator, once it's out there, wala na tayong control kung paano siya babasahin nung audience. So dapat careful yung pag-construct natin ng image, even in combination with text, na nakadepende siya doon sa kung sino yung tatanggap ng information. Similarly, we should consider a user-centric design. Merong nagsabi na science visualization is rather than a presentation, is actually a user experience. Yung user's point of view takes precedence from the development of the visual. It's not just about aesthetics. It has to take into consideration yung point of view ng user, ng audience, like from the cognitive, affective, and behavioral point of view. Sometimes at the same time yung social, organizational, cultural context din. So yun. So yung audience, yung user, yung dapat lagi nating kino-consider. Sila yung first priority kasi sila yung tatanggap nun eh. Parang the goal of communication is to share this information. So how are you going to share information kung sarili mo lang kinakausap mo? And then the third one is nothing beats good science. Katulad sinabi ni Fram kanina, science communication can be used by different conflicting agendas. And we have to make sure that what the information that we share has a foundation of good science and a compelling story. Kasi at the end of the day, to be able to relate to another person, to be able to relate to an audience, we should be able to tell a story. So what's the story behind the science? Okay. So some sort of like strategies is to use tools from graphic design to enhance visual communication. So i-rundown ko lang to kasi mamaya mag-iisa-isa tayo ng mga tips. So kanina pinagpapakita ko ng mga infographic, mga illustration. So na-point out na natin yung composition, yung organization ng elements to show how they relate to each other. Yung hindi ka basta magsasalpak lang na parang montage or collage. Collage actually is kind of tricky to do these days kasi pwedeng ma-misinterpret yung kung paano mo pinagtabi-tabi yung mga image, pinagtabi-tabi yung mga elements with each other. So abstraction, so define or represent essential qualities or meaning. A lot of scientific concepts are abstract. Abstract meaning mahirap siyang i-visualize. Like, how does the electron move? How does other particles like the Higgs boson particles move? And how do we represent them visually? So yung mga ganon, it takes a lot of care to be able to represent them accurately without losing the accuracy and while keeping the audience's attention or and letting them understand what it means. Kasi the goal is hindi ka gagawa ng mga image or hindi ka gagawa ng visualization na ikaw lang nakakaintindi. yung abstraction, hindi sinasabing gumawa ka ng Jason Pollock image na panay paint lang, na makikita mo na ikaw parang free for all yung interpretation. It's not. So abstraction meaning from abstract concept magiging humanize siya, or mas makukuha natin yung accuracy niya, mas better understanding natin sa kanya. Color. So draw attention to the details, relationships, labels, and scales of data. Katulad kanina dun sa visual summaries, di ba? Parang they don't use the entire spectrum of color. Di ba? Parang pumipili lang sila kung ano yung makakapagpakita ng relationship nung isa't isa. It also helps na yung certain brands have specific colors that they use. Like for example, DOST has a certain shade of blue and black across all its attached agencies. Nag-iba-iba ng konti yung design ng logo, but at the same time, it still has those elements. Tapos, we have to take into consideration that many of the contents or products that we're going to create are digital. So sometimes yung resolution ng screens are different from one another. So halimbawa, if you use a certain kind of neon yellow, it would appear different sa different kinds of screens. So that is also like, paano mo yung calibration on what will look better and hindi masakit sa mata dun sa ginagawa mo. Yeah. Okay, another one is layers. So we overlap variables to show relationship. So basically, katulad nung sa infographic kanina, di ba, yung sa marine dinosaur, yung ichthyosaurs, makita nyo may layer siya eh. So meron dito parang may translucent na part na mas naka-front sa'yo, front sa'yo kasi ito yung like comparison niya sa ibang animals. And then at the bottom, may makikita ka medyo naka-highlight din yung flow chart ng evolution. So, and so on and so forth. So, we overlap variables and elements to show relationship. Refine, edit, and simplify. The simplest images can tell the most impactful stories. Katulad sinabi nyo kanina, di ba? Dun sa what makes a good science visualization. So, simple yet impactful. So, guidelines and tips. Yeah, I'm still on track sa time, so it's 10:30. So, first one is remember that you're telling a story. Katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, no? So, when you use a visual aid, it should help you tell the story. Kapag, for example, gumagawa ng PowerPoint, hindi pwedeng from slide 1 to slide 20, words lang siya. Kailangan magbe-break ka ng blank slides or ng icons or ng GIF or ng photo or ng illustration. You have to break it apart to help you tell the story better. Kasi even if it's, you say that, when you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, this is a presentation of the study. So you're presenting the conclusion of the study. The conclusion of the study is actually the conclusion of the story. The story starts when you started the study. So how do you tell that kind of story? So visuals should be able to enhance it. So dapat mas pagagandahin ng visual. Hindi yung pag nalagay, halimbawa, you're talking about the destruction of the environment. For example, the depletion of rainforests in the Philippines due to the overpopulation and the rise of residential areas, encroaching forests, di ba? Pero ang pinapakita mong image is selfie mo sa isang kalsada. So what does it convey? What does it have to do with the story that you're telling, di ba? Parang sabi nga sa TikTok, di ba, for the person lang ba siya, ganyan. So, hindi ganon yung paggamit natin ng visuals. Kailangan laging may purpose dun sa story. Yan. Customize to connect. Yan. Again, katulad na sinabi kanina sa strategies, it should be tailored to your audience, to the users. Before this presentation, I asked the staff of DOST 10 kung sino ba yung mga a-attend, like saan ba silang organizations galing, tapos ano ba yung background sila, kung kasi that would help me formulate kung ano yung mga bagay na mas helpful para dun sa audience. So even the images, what calls on us, diba? Parang ganon. Yeah. And then I think we have heard this 1,000 times in so many different permutations. Show, don't tell. Hindi tayo basta nagdadaldal lang ng words. And hindi pwedeng literal yung pag-formulate natin ng image or ng visualization lagi. We have to play with metaphors, with the audience's imagination, to be able to make them understand the message. The advertising people are great in this, in playing with our imagination, in making anthropomorphized characters, in imagining figures in certain products, and in playing with words all at the same time. So we can take inspiration even from ads that we see online and offline for this. Remember that perception is key. So we're actually sort of wired to find patterns in everything. So let me show you something. Yeah. So 3 principles of perception. Proximity, similarity, and enclosure. So sa proximity, things that we see that are closer together, we perceive them as having closer relationship. Even sa photographs, di ba? Kapag nag-group photo, tapos makikita mo na biglang may isang tao na slightly nakahiwalay, you would think, uy, may issue yata itong dalawang to, di ba? Di ba pag ginagamit yun kapag sa social, yung sa mga chismis na, what you call this, post sa pep.ph, ganyan, tas, or sa fashion police, makikita nyo parang, nag-post ng ganitong picture si ganitong artista, pero hindi niya katabi si ganito. Tapos makikita mo na yung na-establish nila yung relationship between 2 people just by looking at how distant one person is with another person. It's the same with elements in an infographic or a scientific visual. So kapag mas close together, you will see their relationship. This also works kapag when you're looking at hierarchy of specific people, like if they, I use they as a neutral pronoun, are in front of the image, and then you will see the other scientist at the back, you would assume, kung front and center siya, you would assume that they are the leader of the group, diba? They are the leader of the laboratory. But at the same time, kapag nasa may back sila, meaning their hierarchy in a sense would be somewhat lower than the one in front, something like that. Similarity. So, yung similarity ng shapes, ng size, and ng color have relationship to one another. So, you would assume that in a flowchart, all the circles are the same types of elements. All the squares are the same types of elements. Diba? Kapag mas malaki, you would think that there are, you would think na pareho sila ng category compared dun sa mas maliit. Kasi diba, for example, if we're doing bullet points, so kapag closer to the main categories, mas malalaki yung bullet points kumpara dun sa kapag enumeration na siya. Colors also, the similarity of colors also tell the relationship of images to one another. So, ayan. And then enclosure, we all know, I forgot to include here like a Venn diagram. There's this person who joined, I think, America's Got Talent. And what he does, yung bit niya kasi is like, he's an engineer who presents a chart or a map or a graph and then makes fun of stuff. Like most of course, that what he presents are fictional pero board kasi parang he's banking on stereotypes. And it's nice kasi we know that kapag yung nasa loob ng enclosure, like in a Venn diagram, we know that all of those refer to one thing or all of those are related to one another. So, pwedeng sa loob ng isang shape or ng line, ganyan. Enclosures. Kapag may bar sa gitna, ibig sabihin, ibang topic na, di ba? Pagka nakakita tayo sa infographics, gano'n. Ayan. And then, introduce visual hierarchy. So, yung font, look at this. I used 2 different types of fonts. And then, magkaiba yung size niya. So, definitely, ito heading, ito ay caption. So, visual hierarchy. Guide the reader's eyes to how they navigate the entire frame. So, top to bottom, left to right. So, introduce, kasi pati yung colors nito magkaiba, di ba? So, definitely, hindi mo siya babasahin. Introduce, embrace, visual simplicity, hierarchy. Ganun, hindi. Kasi, ito yung color, ibig sabihin, first to, second to. So, introduce visual hierarchy. Font size, weight, color, spacing, visual texture, white space. So, yun. Next is visuals should engage the audience. So, ayan, katulad sabi ko kanina, hindi lang siya for aesthetic. May purpose siya. The visuals should help you engage people to engage people to learn more about science, to be more interested in science, in specific science that you're communicating. So this was taken from, I think, HBR, an HBR article in 2013. Tapos, essentially what they're trying to say is that the question for people who visualize science should be what kind of conversations and interaction should our visualization evoke? So, kumbaga, it's not just like, ayan, may likes na. Ayan, meron ng heart react. It's what's their takeaway? What's the audience takeaway after that? Paano ba siya pag-uusapan? Ayan. Similarly and related dun sa sinabi ay visuals should serve as portals. I like this term, portals. They are gateways into more detailed data. Once you present a good visual kasi, it will help the readers, the audience, to dive deeper into what you're talking about. Right? So, yeah. Okay, so yung example na ito is yung Upgoer 5 is actually an infographic, a cartoon na yung rocket, like a spacecraft, a space rocket, dinescribe niya part by part using like I think the 10,000 most common words. So walang technical terms dito, all layman's terms. So for example, this one, think to help people escape really fast if there's a problem and everything is on fire, so they decide not to go to space. Think to control which direction the people escaping go there. Stuff to burn to make the box with the people in it escape really fast. So, nagigets mo agad kung tungkol saan yung parts nga, di ba? You will say that this is the booster, keme-keme, ganyan. So, doors, chairs, and people box, part that flies around the other world and comes back home with the people in it and falls in the water. So, let me show you yung entire comics. So, yan. This is really fun. Part that flies down to the other world with two people inside. So, clear sa utak mo using the diagram na that's what's happening. Na merong, etong part na to, may dalawang taong laman yan. Tapos, iyan yung darating dun sa ibang planeta or sa moon or whatever. Tapos, yan. Part that falls off second. Yan. Di ba kasi nga, hindi naman yung buong rocket yung umaalis. Yan. More funny voice air. Yan. More breathing type air. Yan. So, this is really, really cute. Yan. Lots of fire comes out here. This end should point toward the ground if you want to go to space. So, parang very humorous siya, tapos parang medyo pilosopo, pero it's it conveys the message very well. Right? Yeah. Okay. Going back to the presentation. Yeah. Next tip is to get feedback, adapt. So, iterative process yung pag-visualize ng science. And we do not have to be perfect every time. And it can change. How you perceive a concept can change depending on many different factors. It's important that you evaluate regularly, get feedback from your audience, not just from your colleagues, and then adjust goals as necessary. And at the same time, experiment. So what if, for example, if you're talking about like marine biodiversity, di ba? What's a good representation of a coral reef? Yeah, so that has not been done before. So, pwedeng anong klaseng image will make them imagine a coral reef, diba? So, we have to play with certain iconographies and images. Ganyan. Okay. Yan. We're toward the end of our presentation. Last part na yung pagkatapos nito question na to. So which platforms or media do you use to communicate science? Ngayon ko lang tinanong to kasi medyo platform specific yung mga next na tips. Where's that? Okay. So again, 2614737. Yeah, 2614737. Which platforms or media do you use to communicate science? Para kasi I think I have a little bit more time so I can adjust. Kung meron ako hindi nasama doon sa slides, pwede ko namang ikwento or banggitin. Ganyan. So, which platforms or media do you use to communicate science? So, 2614737. Okay. Okay. So far, we have a lot using social media. Merong poster presentations, PowerPoints, exhibitions. Oh, nice. Museums, galleries, fairs, blogs and news websites, traditional media. Sige, ina-note ko pala to. Teka lang. Habang nagsasagot kayo. So, number 1, SOCMED. 2, PowerPoint. Tapos, PowerPoint. Yeah, nice. Okay. Thank you very much. And then we go back to the presentation. Nasaan na yun? Yeah. Okay. So ito platform specific pero mas marami yung social media pero sa slides ko kasi nauna tong PowerPoint. Request to sa slides PowerPoint ayan, number 1 is be consistent. Kung yung template na ginamit mo sa umpisa ay blue and white and yellow, throughout the entire presentation, yun ang gamitin mo. Kung ang fonts na ginamit mo doon ay Arial and Calibri, throughout the presentation, yun ang gamitin mo unless you want to highlight or emphasize something na kailangan mo talaga ng ibang font to sort of like change the pace of the presentation. There are many templates to choose from every type of presentation. Sa PowerPoint, Google Slides, Keynotes, and what I'm using now is Canva. Kung hindi pa kayo nagka-Canva, why? Sure. So, yun. Use colors judiciously. So, kailangan may sense yung paggamit ng color. To make it interesting. Sometimes kasi parang certain colors have different meaning for certain people and cultures. Personally, ako kasi I gravitate towards blue, navy, and white. So, marami sa mga presentations ko have a lot of blue and white. Yan. So, like this one. I don't like pink. I'm sorry. Pero, I don't know. Kasi bata pa ako, ayaw na ng pink for some reasons. I appreciate it, but I don't like it. If that makes sense. But, for example, alam dapat natin yung color wheel and then yung relationship ng colors, yung complementary colors, so on and so forth. Kasi, baka naman mamaya, partneran niya yung dark blue ng dark na purple, ng plum. Eh di hindi mo makikita yung difference ng dark blue dun sa plum, di ba? So, we should be able to like provide contrast and sense dun sa paggamit natin ng colors. Another one is use animation sparingly. In college, pasikat kami gumawa ng PowerPoint, like pabunggahan ng animation, yung box bumababa, ganyan. Tapos nag-appear, disappear yung mga words, mga headings, ganyan. Tapos parang nag-aantay ka na dun sa animation. But right now, yung attention span kasi ng readers kasi is more focused on how they can understand the message. So, and you have like a few seconds to do that. So, kung may animation pa yan, aantayin pang mag-blow up yung text and then maging normal yung size niya. Ay, bored na po yung audience. Apakatagal, ganyan. So, use animation sparingly. Hindi kayo title track ng isang Disney movie or ng 20th Century Fox. Hindi nyo kailangan ng heavy animation sa PowerPoint or sa slides. So, keep text to a minimum. So, pag, if I'm not mistaken, meron akong nabasa na dapat 65 words in total sa isang slide. So, I'm not sure if aabot na ng 65, But, may icons and some graphics like decor, lines, and white space to break apart the text. And variations. Pag dun sa buong slides ko, di ba, parang nag-iba-iba yung position niya kasi it helps you to be on your toes kapag na hindi lang sa isang na parang straight line, monotonous yung pagbasa nyo ng information kasi you have to follow your eyes kasi where the text and the graphics are. So yeah. Use bullet points and outlines. Next, use a simple font style. I have a particular love for sans serif fonts. Sans serif fonts, ibig sabihin yung walang mga tails sa dulo, yan yung walang, hindi Times New Roman, Palatino Linotype, and other parang mga block form na heavy na may mga buntot-buntot sa dulo. And ayoko din ng mga cursive fonts sa slides kasi mahirap siyang basahin. I can tell you, I write in cursive. Pero I know that more people write in block letters. So even sa slides, it's easier to understand kung ganito kasimple yung font. And the spacing should be proper din. Yung kerning ng text, ng letters, space between the letters, space between the paragraphs, space between the lines. Yeah. Blank the screen. Sometimes the reader needs to breathe. Use a blank slide or merong shortcut sa keyboard pero iba-iba yun per laptop on how to put a blank screen to focus attention and reclaim the spotlight. And a lot of white space or blank space is helpful for the audience to breathe. Sa social media, I can tell you na right now the trend really is videos. So there are reels taken from TikTok, like 1-minute kind of videos, and there are yung 24-hour short videos like stories, my day na could be slides, could be videos then, like lang mga 10 seconds. Videos, the good thing about social media is that your videos do not have to be very polished. But it's also good that if you have polished videos, you have to make use of graphics in your videos then to play with animation, ganyan. And using social media kasi makes the science more relatable and sort of I would say lighthearted. It breaks sort of the somberness or the seriousness of the topic. And it's good if you want to reach more audience. So yeah, videos are very helpful. Live streaming. This one kasi, the focus here is shared experience. You know, itong webinar na to, I think naka-Facebook Live to. Live streaming is also a type of visual. And you do not live stream roundtable discussions of scientists talking among each other without necessarily minding how the audience who are not necessarily scientists are understanding what they're talking about, right? You live stream events or certain like speeches or dialogues that have relevance to your audience. Kung kailan sila makaka-relate. Kasi nga, shared experience yun eh. Watching something live na parang, I watched this at the same time as it's happening. Memes and GIFs, yan. A dose of humor is always a good thing. Especially for Filipinos. We're very much a light-hearted culture. So, we love memes. Yeah. Like this. So, these are like old memes already. So, formaldehyde and casualdehyde, yan. Tapos this one, dito, bumibenta pa rin to sa akin up until now. This has been in the internet for a very long time. Yun. Harry Potter and influence of climatic legacies on the distribution of melon. So parang ang sarap lagyan ng Harry Potter and yung mga studies. So it's really a cute meme. Benta pa rin yan. Okay, tara lang ha. So, I have here 3 TikTok influencers. Lab Shenanigans is Darian Nguyen, a biochemist from University of Texas. He's very funny and he talks about biochemistry a lot. Sa Instagram, yata siya na muna bago siya nag-TikTok if I'm not mistaken. So, katulad dito. Yung skirt niya. Yeah. So, very relatable. This one, I like this a lot. So, Kain Santos is a drag queen and mathematics communicator based in Canada. Yeah. Yung Klein bottle videos niya are really trending. Pag nakita niyo sa TikTok, marami millions yung views. And especially now na trending ang Drag Race Philippines, di ba? Si Lady Morgana, one of the queens that I love. Lagi Dalaygon, ganyan. So, I love her. But this one, Kain Santos, is he talks about a lot of different kinds of math. Yes, Dalaygon, yan. Yan, mga miss, yes. Yan. This one, I also like her. Dr. Criseluna. Ay, walang audio. Teka lang. Paano ba yun? Hindi ko alam. Sorry, hindi ko alam paano yung audio. But, I mean, I can post their accounts naman. Share sound. Saan yun? Share sound.
Hello, Ma'am Shaira. Nasa ano po siya?
Ayun, nakita ko. Yay.
Okay po.
Sige, ulitin natin. Gusto ko dito kay Kai.
Right here, because this is the 3D shadow of a 4-dimensional.
Ulitin natin.
Heard of Mobius strips, the one-sided surface? Now let me introduce you to something even cooler called a Klein bottle. Not a kind bottle, that's the lamp you have to rub to get me to grant you 3 wishes. This is a Klein bottle named after Felix Klein. I showed you before that if you tape together 2 Mobius strips at a right angle, you
really
get
beautiful
hearts.
drag
But what if you
queen.
were to tape them along their
sumali siya
edges?
sa
Now, I
Canadian
tried
Drag
this on a
Race.
sewing machine, and at a certain point, it's really hard because it gets all tangled. And that's because this object can't exist in 3 dimensions. It needs 4 dimensions to exist. That object is called a Klein bottle. It has one side, 0 edges, and 0 volume. But I thought you said it couldn't exist in 3 dimensions. Well, just as the shadow of a Mobius strip has a self-intersection, this Klein bottle has a self-intersection right here because this is the 3D shadow of a 4-dimensional object. A Klein bottle in 4 dimensions wouldn't need to self-intersect like this.
Kapag tiningnan niyo yung mga comments dun sa mga videos niya, yung iba parang sinasabi, parang you lost me at ganyan. Parang yung iba naman, parang na-appreciate na, oh, thank you for telling me about this. I learned something new, ganyan. So, even if people are engaged, sometimes they don't actually take time to understand what you're trying to say kasi they're distracted by every other types of factors. Pwedeng mababa talaga attention span nila, pwedeng wala naman talaga silang interest, gusto lang nilang nakikita ka or things like that. This one kasi, yung presentation niya, she's in drag. So definitely, it's very campy and it's a lot of information to take in when you're talking about topology. So, baka yung focus mo is mawala dun sa topology mismo kasi you will see that she has really beautiful hair, really nice makeup, ganyan, so on and so forth. But I like it kasi she uses drag as a way to entice the audience to look at her and listen to her. And yet, she uses that platform as a means to communicate math. So this one, si Dr. Crizel Luna, is a health communicator. Sige, I can talk about her later.
Kumakalat na daw ang monkeypox? Hala, magiging unggoy na tayo! Joke lang po! Ano nga ba yung monkeypox? Ito po ay isang rare disease na kinukos ng monkeypox virus. Ang virus po na ito ay similar sa smallpox, pero kadalasan, mas mild yung mga simptomas nito. Paano nga ba nakukuha ang monkeypox? Pwede ito kumalat person to person via direct contact sa mga lesion, sa body fluid, sa respiratory droplets, o kaya naman sa mga gamit na kontaminado nito. Pwede din ito makuha kapag kinagat ka o kaya naman kumain ka ng meat ng animal na meron nito. Hindi po sexually transmitted infection ng monkeypox, pero tandaan, tumataas po ang cases through sex dahil sa close intimate contact. Ano nga bang signs and symptoms nito? Andyan yung lagnat, pananakit ng ulo, ng likod, ng kasukasuan, pamamaga ng kulani, at syempre yung presence ng rash. Yung rashes po ng monkeypox pwede makita sa mukha, sa loob ng bibig, at sa iba pang parte ng katawan kagaya ng dibdib, kamay at paa, at sa genital area. Yung monkeypox po kadalasan self-limiting, kusang gumagaling in 2 to 4 weeks at hindi na kailangan ng treatment. Pero may mga cases pa din na sobrang lumalala ito, lalo na sa mga high-risk groups. Wala pa pong specific treatment ang monkeypox, pero dahil sa similarity nito sa smallpox, maaaring makatulong yung mga antiviral treatments laban dito. Paano makakaiwas dito? Syempre, iwasan natin yung skin-to-skin contact sa mga taong posibleng meron nito.
And so hindi ko na tinapos, ano? So I just want to point out that Dr. Crizel Luna talks a lot about reproductive health. Things that we can consider, that we normally consider taboo, like, you know, size of penises, boobs, menstruation, among others. So she talks about those things and makes them not as a matter of fact, a topic that is about health, not necessarily something na kabastos-bastos or things like that. Because it's normal to talk about like reproductive organs. Because we should be concerned about our health. If you could see, yung presentation niya kasi, she usually wears either a lab gown or scrubs na pinapakita doon na as in like, you know, her uniform as a doctor, as a general physician. These influencers, slice of life yan doon sa ginagawa nila. Like, Dario, itong lab shenanigans. A lot of his videos are actually inside his laboratory, showing pipettes, among others. But he also harnessed yung mga different na mga trends, like katulad na yung skirt yan, in communicating different types of topics in biochemistry and science. So ayun. You will see that magkaiba sila ng presentation, but what they're trying to do is make science more relatable for the youth, especially in TikTok. Yeah. Magkakaiba ng klase ng videos, di ba? Ito kasi straightforward eh. Hindi halos, hindi ganun karami yung splice lang nito eh, yung pag-edit niya. This one kasi uses like backgrounds and graphics din. This one naman is more on like yung as in raw na TikTok video na you splice videos to fit a music and add some graphics na like text lang. Yeah. So dun sa kanina, dun sa iba pang modes ng iba pang platforms na ginagamit for science communication, yung poster presentation, I would assume these are researchers as well. Dun sa poster presentation, whenever I go to conferences, tapos may mga poster presentation na nakahilera sa isang hall, hindi ko sila binabasa. Kasi una, maliliit talaga yung text. Tapos yung layout nila is as in like 2 columns or 4 columns na parang page sa isang newsletter. Pero yung pagkaka-layout sa kanya, sobrang text heavy. The thing is, hindi ako sure kung yun ba yung requirement ng conference. But what I would say is that I hope that there are, alam niyo yung mga parang lifted quotes or lifted highlights at the top. So ito yung title of the study, these are the authors, and then may 3 bullet points na may highlights ng study. That will help visually for the readers, for the audience to look at, to drive attention to your work and get immediately some takeaway. Kasi naka-highlight na. And then yung figures kasi na ginagamit, I understand that the need for accuracy, yung call for more comprehensive information dun sa single figure, but it would also help kung we use yung elements nga na sinasabi natin, how to simplify scientific visuals. Yun. Dun naman sa traditional media, well, even the things that I've mentioned before going into PowerPoint and social media are applicable. So what I would say is that additional ko na lang doon is that how you communicate to your best friend or your mother this particular message about science is how you drive your audience to read about your work, to look at your work. Visually man yan, or if it's text. Tapos, dun sa exhibits, then, I'm sorry, pero normally, dun sa mga nakikita ko na kapag National Science and Technology Week, maraming magandang exhibits, to be honest. Pero marami din na nagpiprint lang sila ng tarpaulin ng brochure or ng tarpaulin na may nakalagay na concept note nung ginagawa nila. It doesn't, an exhibit should be an experience. Hindi lang siya visual. It has to call on to all your senses. So, ano yung maririnig mo, ano yung sounds na ginagamit dyan, the lights, the colors, the figures, pwede ba siyang hawakan, pwede ba siyang tikman, anong amoy niya. So, all of those take into play when you're curating an exhibit. Or even just like a particular item in an exhibit. So, yun. Blogs kasi yun, gaya nung nag-work din naman dyan yung iba nating mga sinasabi kanina na mga strategies and tips. Okay, so last thing, so online tools and references para magamit kapag nag-visualize ng scientific information. Canva, I really like Canva. You can make social media graphics. You can also do calling cards, posters, love letters if you want, videos. I actually did a slideshow, a video using Canva kasi hindi nag-work yung video editing tool ko that time. So, pero madali lang yun kasi slides lang panay pictures and a konting video na pwede mong i-cut to cut lang. Mind the Graph, kanina yung for infographics. Infogram and Pictochart also creates infographics. What you call this? Stock images na magaganda. Stock images are, you can use them freely. Sometimes kailangan ng what you call this? Credits. So, Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay. Meme generator. Kasi memes are really helpful, especially online. So, meme generator, you can create your own memes. Otherwise, you can source them from 9gag or Reddit. I follow science memes on Reddit. 9gag is also a fun resource. And then, yun. GIF makers. Yeah. So, maraming tools na pwedeng gamitin to make more visuals in science. Ito yung mga simple, no? You can, of course, use Photoshop, or if you're into videos, you can use Final Cut Pro, or if you're advanced, among others. But these are the ones that are very user-friendly, that you can easily do to improve and enhance your visualizations. So I think that is all for this morning. If you have questions, type them in the chat box or dun sa Q&A portion. And you can email me. Sumasagot ako sa email within a week, usually within the day, pero at the very latest, within a week. Tapos, I'm Aling Shaira on all my socials. Aling Shaira kasi sabi ko tumatanggap ako ng labada, freelancer, ganyan. So, and so on and so forth. And sometimes, if you want to come down to the International Rice Research Institute, I'm there sometimes. Yan. Pero otherwise, we can schedule. So, depende kung ano yung purpose. But if you want to know more about rice and agriculture research, let me know. Thank you very much. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat.
Ayan, thank you very much, ma'am, for your very useful design ideas that will help us communicate science more effectively. Once again, guys, that's Miss Ruby Shara Panela. So at this juncture, it's now time for us to entertain questions, no, that will be answered by our resource persons. But with our limited time, we will be only entertaining up to 5 to 6 questions. We have already collected questions from our attendees, ma'am, and also from our pre-registration forms. So may we also invite Ma'am Fram to be spotlighted in our Zoom platform. Ayan po. Good morning again, Ma'am Fram. Ayan. For our first question, we have a question from Malaya Abadilla Igot from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. So the question is, what are your strategies in communicating climate change to the people? So I think this could be answered by Ma'am Fram.
Hello, thank you for that question. Although dito sa present na agency ko ay hindi masyado kami sa climate change, konti lang because di ba yung ating mga nuclear energy ay nakakatulong para ma-mitigate yung para makapag cope sa climate change. But in my past agency, which is the Science and Technology Information Institute, I remember we had this production for DOS-TV. We had this about nakalimutan ko na yung title. We did it with the director Henry Burgos. Ito yung about climate change, and we featured yung kasi we went up to the mountain provinces. So, napunta kami Benguet, Mountain Province. We had a production on the indigenous people na nag-rain dance because ang hirap that time kasi walang ulan. So nag-rain dance sila. So pinakita namin yung mga kultura ginagawa ng mga tao para lang umulan. Yung mga ganon. And then, the next, kasi dalawang episodes yon. Yung next naman is yung effect naman ng sobrang ulan. Mga ganon, no? So, these are the effects of climate change. So, through visuals and yung parang case study, stories about people, mas naipaparating namin sa tao yung gusto naming mensahe na that climate change is real and that we should do our best, we should do our own responsibilities para ma-mitigate yung situation, mga ganon. So always ang ano nito ay heart, no? Yung story mo dapat matouch yung heart ng tao. So we did it through 2 episodes sa DOS-TV, which are videos, in forms of videos. Ayun po. Si Miss Shai maybe can share much more things about climate change.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma'am Pram. Ma'am Shai, good morning again po.
Kanina kasi nabanggit ko yung tungkol sa climate change, di ba, na parang it's something that is very what I consider is very abstract, that the goal right now is to appeal to the emotions of the people, of the audience. One of the things that I would say that is not working anymore is the doom and gloom scenario ng climate change, na parang magugunaw na ang mundo dahil sa climate change. So kasi parang it's yung negative messaging about climate change in our heads. So what? Parang ganon. So magugunaw mo mundo, mamatay din naman ako. So parang anong sense, di ba? So the things that would help kasi in communicating climate change, even visually, even in text, is actually to turn over the messaging into solutions. Like anong solutions, more positive communication. Solutions, journalism, positive communication, hope communication. Tama ba ako? Hope, yeah. Yung framework na yun. Hope communication. Into like formulating what can we do to mitigate the impacts. So, I remember kasi parang very striking nung 2015 sa climate change negotiation sa Paris, yung exhibit on the melting glaciers, the melting icebergs dun sa Paris. But at the same time, after that, what happens? What's next? Diba? So another exhibit during that negotiation is like a tree, a metal tree. Tapos parang they light up depending on the air, something like that. When I worked in an organization, a non-profit organization that deals with air pollution. So isa dun sa mga magagandang exhibits is like a hot air balloon na umaakyat siya, nag-iba siya ng kulay kapag maganda yung hangin, parang ganon. So I think that's somewhere in Europe. It presents climate change and greenhouse gases, and it visualizes them in a different way, in a different manner. It's very innovative and very visual. Kasi tapos na tayo, I think I mean, it still works to some extent sa Pilipinas. Tapos na tayo doon sa mga mataas ang baha dahil sa climate change. Nasisira yung mga isla na dating hindi tinatamaan ng bagyo dahil sa climate change. So now what? How do we build back better? What can we do for these communities to actually adapt to climate change? So, ganon. I think, did I make sense? So.
Ayan, ma'am. Thank you very much, Ma'am Shaira and Ma'am Fram. I also have a question po to both of you. It's something about the social media. No, it's easier to communicate science to the public now with the presence po of social media and the web. However, it's more susceptible na po to misinformation and disinformation, which will be affecting our general public po. So how do we battle this kaya po? And the idea po is it's also easy to spread false information about science, such as the vaccines, such as even climate change as well po. So how do we counter this or battle this? Maybe we could start with Ma'am Shai.
Kanina, di ba nag-cite ako nung example yung chorizo na nung akala is picture ng Proxima Centauri. Yung misinformation, disinformation, and fake news online is not something that we can tackle using one tactic only. It's an entire societal problem. Hindi lang isa yung factor bakit siya nangyayari. Nangyayari siya dahil we're bombarded with information. Nangyayari siya dahil culturally, we tend to go with something that is like more striking to us. Nangyayari siya dahil yung circles of influence natin are limited dun sa family natin, for example, or dun sa specific people that we think we can trust. Among many others, maraming factors. So hindi siya pwedeng ma-solve one way. But what we can do is to help cut through the noise. How do we cut through the noise? It's not about quantity. Kapag nagpo-post sa social media, it's always about being purposive about the kind of communication that you are doing and the kind of messages that you want to impart. So, hindi to labanan ng paramihan ng likes lang. You can be trending and still be sharing false information. It's more of being more intentional with what you're trying to communicate. I think, for example, kina Ate Fram, kasi hot topic ang nuclear energy. Always. Every time na mabubuksan yan, sobrang hot topic yan. So, hindi sila pwedeng bumanat ng bumanat, di ba? Nang parang, sagutin na natin lahat ng controversies. Sa part ko, sa IRI, hindi pwedeng lahat ng may kinalaman sa agriculture or sa bigas, sasagutin namin. Parang, una, ma-overwhelm yung scientists. Pangalawa, ano ba yung level nung klase ng information na gusto naming manggaling sa amin as an agricultural research institution. So, pwede mo namin sagutin lahat. Will it change things? Will it influence things? Or are we going to just break relationships that we have with certain institutions, among others? Ayun, si Fram.
Thank you po, Ma'am Shaira. Now, Ma'am Fram, would you like to share something po?
Yes, tama yung sabi ni Shai, no? I agree na hindi lahat dapat patulan, no? Hindi lahat dapat sasagutin. So, ito target mo lang talaga, or else mauubos yung energy mo and your resources sa kakasagot sa mga fake news. And also, always consider din, lagi, sino ba yung kakausapin mo, sino yung audience mo, no? Na kung saan mo i-address yung message mo to correct or to answer or to address certain fake news or misinformation or disinformation. Halimbawa, sa mga policy makers. So, iba yung atake mo kapag nagbibigay ka ng facts sa policy makers. So, maybe you can just, you can bring out your policy briefs, mga ganyan. So, depende kung sino yung kausap mo. Sa social media naman, ganun din. Of course, yung content mo, very, very important yan. And how you present it is equally important. So, kaya nga tayo may visuals and media, di ba? So, isang na-experience ko, without so much text, nag-experiment kami siguro last month. We launched our first meme. Kasi alam niyo ng PNRI, parang academe to very, very serious institution where we have talagang ang mga scientists namin dito ay mga awarded, multi-awarded national, international. So medyo ganun yung level. Pero we tried to create a meme about nuclear energy. Ang text lang niya parang 4 or 5 words. And then it generated a lot of reactions and feedbacks to us. At doon namin nakita na marami pala sa aming mga followers ay naniniwala sa nuclear energy. So sila na mismo doon ang sumasagot doon sa mga misconception na nagko-comment. So sila na, hindi kami sumagot kahit isang word. So sila na mismo ang nagdidiskusyon doon sa thread. So nakita namin na okay pala yun, na kahit wala kaming masyadong sinabi, yung audience na mismo, yung nagsasabi for us. Okay. So yun lang po.
And thank you very much, Ma'am Fram. No? So may mga effective ways talaga of communicating, especially to our young ones, no? This next question po is somehow related to what Ma'am Shaira answered a while ago. So the question is, how can we gauge effectiveness of the delivery of knowledge to our intended listeners or participants. So this question is from Sir Melvic Felicilda. Ayun po. So how do we gauge the effectiveness of our materials po?
Gauge the effectiveness of the materials. Different ways eh. Kasi depende kung anong platform yung gamit mo. Pag social media kasi, you can monitor engagement easily. You can also test actually, beta testing sa colleagues or even beta testing sa family or sa jowa, ganyan. So parang pakita mo muna sa kanya na parang, halimbawa hindi naman, kung sabihin na natin hindi sila scientist, yung jowa hindi scientist. Pag pinakita mo, pag naintindihan, edi good. Pag hindi, edi ulit ka. Or, for example, sa anak, di ba? Kung may anak ka, kapag naintindihan niya ng elementary student, it means that it's working. So, pwede ka naman mag-beta test kahit draft pa lang, and then iterate. So, tuloy-tuloy yung pag-evolve. Other ways of evaluating kasi is actually to really actively ask for feedback. Hindi naman masama yun na parang tatanungin mo yung audience kapag tinanggap yung information is, what do you think about this? Kapag hindi sila sumagot, ibig sabihin walang impact sa kanila. Diba? So parang, nag-evaluate ba kayo? Oo, pero walang sumagot That's your answer. Walang sumagot So, walang kwenta, di ba? So, ganon.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Shai. Ma'am Pram, would you like to share something po?
Yes, just as what Shai said, it's very, very important to test and to ask feedback from your intended audience. So, ginagawa namin to last time sa STII. For example, may gagawin kaming infograph or graphics. And then, syempre, kapag kami yung tumingin, pare-pareho kami ng mata, di ba? Just like when we present it to you, Sir Bench, baka ganun din yung pagtingin mo. Because we have been so absorbed with our materials and we look at it very nicely. Ang ganda, ganyan-ganyan. Pero that's not the way how other people will see it, di ba? So at that time, marami kaming mga interns sa STII pa. So marami kaming intern. So marami kaming pwedeng pag-testan ng aming mga material. So tanungin namin sila individually, separately, naintindihan mo ba ito? How do you understand this meme? Or how do you understand this infograph? Nagigets mo ba yung ibig niyang sabihin? So dun yung aming basihan kung maiintindihan ba ng layman o layperson, ng audience namin, intended audience namin, yung aming message through that infograph or through that graphics. So yun, sabi nga, when you do communication, dapat maintindihan yan ng 9 ba or your 7-year-old niece or nephew or son or daughter up to your 90-year-old lola. So ganun ka-wide yung range nung audience mo. So dapat maiintindihan ng bawat isang nandun sa age range na yon. Pasensya na po sa mga 71 years old. Okay po.
Ayan, thank you very much po. For our next question, this was asked by Sir Rex Arcadio Diego II of Ismael Matay Senior High School. So the question is, in your opinion, what is the greatest challenge to convincing the public to prioritize communication over trivial stuff? So in your opinion po, what is the greatest challenge to convincing the public to prioritize communication over trivial stuff? So maybe we could start po with Ma'am Fram.
Most challenging aspect, most challenging may be how to formulate or to package your content according to the audiences. Kasi iba-iba yung audiences ng kahit sinong communicator, no? So, challenge talaga yun. Like, for example, sa amin, nuclear, no? How do you present nuclear science to elementary students? Diba? So, ipapackage namin yun in a way na maintindihan ng 7, 8 years old up to 12. Yun po yung isa siguro sa pinaka-ultimate na challenge sa science communication. And then iba ulit kapag kausap mo ay policymaker, mag-iiba ka ulit ng approach kasi dapat ipapakita mo how this technology or how this R&D will benefit yung mga nasa constituents niya. No, niya very specific, no? So ganun po yung challenge sa science communication. Dapat you are able to package your information or your message to your intended audience and use the right platform. Diba? So you don't expect si policymaker na mag-check dun sa kanyang Facebook. No, hindi siya ganun. So, ibang venue ang gagawin mo para sa kanya. So, maybe magkakaroon ka ng forum or you may have an exhibit at the Senate or at the House, mga ganun. So, yun po yung challenge sa, I think, not just in science communication, but in all kinds of communication. And sa science talaga, yung how you laymanize or how you make scientific concepts simpler but not watered down. Ayun, yun po yung sa akin. Si Miss Shai.
Package and platform. Thank you po, Ma'am Bram. Now, Ma'am Shai.
Yeah, I agree. Doon sa akin naman, parang, kasi di ba parang prioritize scientific information over trivial aspects. The thing is, I think we should stop fighting trivial aspects. It will always be part of the content that we will see everywhere. And it's not necessarily bad. You just have to have the right combination, the right amount of trivial things and impactful and valuable information. Paano mo nalalaman kung sumusobra na yung trivial things? Kung yung bata or yung estudyante ay mas maraming alam tungkol sa mga influencer sa TikTok kesa dun sa kung ilang planeta meron sa solar system. Kung yung bata or yung estudyante kaya niyang i-identify kung ilan ang naging ex. For example, ng mga artista sa Star Cinema, ni Vice Ganda, kumpara doon sa ano yung stages ng photosynthesis. Those things. So, but we don't have to ridicule people who don't know a lot. We don't have to shame them for knowing nothing. What we have to do is to engage them further kasi we might be doing something wrong. Kasi bakit ito, mga trivial information na to bumibenta sa kanila, bakit tayo hindi natin ma-reach yung ganong klaseng attention span nila? So maybe there is some sense to the style that these influencers and these trivial information peddlers do na pwede nating magamit in science communication. That's why kanina nag-share ako ng mga TikTok influencers who are actually doing science communication. I think DOST, Pishard, for example, is harnessing TikTok influencers in science communication already. So yun. Sinasagot ko yung ibang Q&A sa sa text.
Ayan, thank you very much, Ma'am Shai. We're now down to our second to the last question. This question is from one of our organizing team. So the question is, what's the rule of thumb when it comes to preparing tarpaulins for the general public? And maybe we could start with Ma'am Shaira at this, for this question.
Sorry, ulit.
The question po is, what's the rule of thumb when it comes to preparing tarpaulins for the general public?
Rule of thumb sa tarpaulin?
Maybe on the designing of tarpaulins po, which will be publicly posted.
One is it has to be high resolution. Kasi iba siya pag nasa screen, iba siya pag nasa tarpaulin. Hindi, kapag JPEG nyo sinave yan, definitely pixelated yan pag na-print sa tarpaulin kahit maliit lang. So, una, check the resolution. Second, ito napaka-basic ito, mga logistics level na to eh. Second, check the calibration. So, yung printer mo, pwedeng iba yung level ng red niyan dun sa level ng red dun sa screen mo. So, it also could affect on how you communicate the information on the tarpaulin. And then lastly, huwag mahihiyang humingi ng tulong dun sa mga actual graphic artist. Huwag sarilinin ang task. So, sige may Canva, sige may PowerPoint, pero hindi naman masamang humingi ng opinion sa ibang tao or humingi ng assistance dun sa talagang marunong gumawa. So, yun. Ako, I don't touch a lot of posters anymore kasi I would just use Microsoft Paint or Canva for that. Eh, hindi man ako magaling eh. So, kaya kong gumawa ng PowerPoint presentation kahit nakapikit. Pero pag gawin mo ko ng poster sa isang event, OMG. I can lay out pero siguro mga 48 years. Tapos na yung event, hindi pa tapos. Ganyan.
Thank you very much po, Ma'am Shaira. Ma'am Fram, would you like to share something po?
Yeah, tarpaulin. Bakit po? May event po ba? Ayun. So, sa akin naman, ang mga na-observe ko sa mga tarps, I think these are very, very important din pag may mga event tayo. Ayun, ang una kong napapansin, dapat tingnan natin dito is yung size ng tarpaulin. No? Saan ba natin siya ilalagay? For example, sa EDSA mo siya ilalagay pero 5x6 lang yung laki niya. Di ba parang, teka, di ko mabasa yung nandun sa loob. So yun, ilalagay mo sa gate ng university pero 2x4 lang yung size niya. Ano ba to? So lakihan natin according to saan natin siya ilalagay physically. So ayun, kung malaki, dapat lakihan din natin yung tarp. Anyway, mura lang naman yung printing. At pag doon sa loob ng room lang naman, where in the room, mo ilalagay sa isang empty wall ba na malaki yung wall o doon lang sa backdrop o ilalagay mo lang pala sa likod ng mga nagsasalita or kung saan. So dapat appropriate yung size. And sa content naman, kasi nabanggit na ni Miss Shai yung yung resolution. Doon sa doon sa content naman, yung event ito dapat kumpleto yung 5 wives and 1 husband. Ano yun? Dapat andun lahat yung what, is it all about what, when, where, why, who, and how, kung pwede. So, dapat kumpleto yon. So, dapat pati oras ilalagay natin, yung event. Minsan, nakakalimutan kung saan, nakakalimutan kung kailan, anong araw. Minsan, nagko-conflict yung date at yung araw, Sabi, Monday, ganitong date, pero pagtingin mo sa kalendaryo, hindi pala. So, dapat na-copy edit lahat yung information na nandun para clear doon sa magbabasa at they will get all the information that they need. Kasi ang tarpaulin, iba kunwari nandyan lang sa kalsada, dadaanan yan ng, kunwari nakasakay sa car, nakasakay sa tricycle, sandali lang niya babasahin yan. So dapat doon sa pagdaan niya, doon sa tarp, makikita na niya yung lahat ng information. Ayun lang po. Thank you.
Ayan.
Dagdag pala ako.
Yes po.
Ayun.
So sa tarpaulin, di ba sa tarpaulin, iwasan nyo gumamit ng clouds as background. Kahit na tungkol sa air pollution yan. Baka magkamalang itong lamay po ng patay, ganyan. So, tapos yung text, yan, iayos yung size, depende sa kung paano babasahin. Kung indoor ba siya or outdoor. Yun lang.
Ayan. Thank you very much po, Ma'am Shai. Is it okay po to have our final question po? We're actually over time ng 2 minutes. Pero would you be okay with one more question po? Ayun po, our question is, how do you convert scientific data, words, and all sorts of communication into common parlance such that it will be easier for people outside the science community to fully understand them and especially apply or use these concepts? So this question is from Sir RV Rosales of Lipa, Batangas. Ayun po. So maybe we could start with Ma'am Fram.
Sir RB, kailangan po natin ito ng isa pang workshop. Isang workshop po ulit yan, isang buong araw. Di ba, Miss Shai? That is a simplification or laymanization. Yan, yun talaga yung term, laymanization of science, of technical information. So, ayan po, to have a general dapat maipapicture natin sa isip ng tao yung mga scientific concepts. Like, huwag tayong gumamit ng mga jargon. Kung kailangan gumamit ng jargon, i-explain or i-describe. And then yung mga numericals natin, like, mga 20 kilometers, mga ganyan, or storm surge na 10 meters, hindi mabivisualize yan ng ordinary Filipino. Sabihin mo kung kunwari ilang floors na building yan, kung gaano kataas. So mga ganun po, ang dami-dami pong way how to make scientific terms and technical terms na maintindihan ng tao. But, and just as I said, it will really take one more seminar workshop for this. So I think si Misha could give more information and knowledge about this kasi siya talaga yung siya yung naka-immerse sa ganitong field of work.
Pag laymanization, usap tayo mag-schedule tayo sa calendar, separate na session. Yeah. So it takes a lot of work. It's a different skill altogether. Personally, I write more than I create visuals. I just talk about visuals because I work with a lot of visuals. But laymanization cannot be answered lang ito lang yung technique na pwedeng gawin. Maraming pwedeng gawin. But I think it still boils down to knowing and understanding your audience. Kasi kapag kilala mo yung audience mo, you would know how to approach them, what language works for them, what kind of metaphors yung maiintindihan nila among others. So, know your audience first and identify your message. And then the rest would be nitty-gritty logistics and style tips na lang. So, yun.
Ayan. Thank you very much po to our very enthusiastic resource speakers. Once again, let's give it up for Miss Framelia Anonas and Miss Ruby Shaira Panela. Ayan, thank you very much po. And that concludes our open forum, and we acknowledge your keen interest in the topics discussed a while ago. And we apologize for the questions not read due to our limited time. So at this juncture, let me now take this time to honor the invaluable service of our experts, Miss Framelia Viernes Anonas and Miss Ruby Shaira Panela. Thank you po at pinaunlakan ninyo ang imbitasyon ng DOST Regional Office 10. So once again, we remind our participants to please don't forget to accomplish the activity evaluation. We have posted on the chat box the link for the evaluation, and we will be sending out the certificates for those who have accomplished the evaluation. With that, we will now be awarding to you our certificate of appreciation. To Miss Framelia V. Anonas, DOST 10 is awarding you the certificate of appreciation for imparting your expertise as a resource speaker of the webinar Science Communication, Visuals, and Media on September 6, 2022 via Zoom. This is signed by the DOST 10 Officer in Charge, Undersecretary Sancho A. Mabora. So a warm round of applause for Ma'am Fram Anonas for for sharing her expertise. And po.
Salamat po.
So let's take a quick photo po with Ma'am Fram. May we request everyone to please turn on your camera. Ayan po, with my cue, let's take a very quick photo op. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Ayan. Thank you very much po. And next certificate, please. With the same citation, DOST 10 is awarding this certificate of appreciation to Miss Ruby Shaira Panela. This is also signed by Undersecretary Sancho A. Mabora. So thank you very much po, Ma'am Shaira, for sharing and imparting to us your expertise on visuals and media.
Thank you po. Sana po may kasamang lansones tsaka pastel.
Sige po. Kumakain po ba kayo ng durian, ma'am?
Mas gusto ko po ng lansones mula kami.
Sige po.
Joke lang.
So, isang quick photo op ulit po with Ma'am Shaira. May we request the tech team to facilitate the capturing. So on my cue. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Ayan. Thank you ulit sa ating mga resource speakers for sharing your time and expertise for our webinar today. So once again, we remind our participants to please don't forget to accomplish the activity evaluation. We have posted on the chat box the link for the evaluation, and we'll be sending out the certificates based on those who accomplished the said form. And now to formally close this very productive discussion, let me call our Science Research Specialist 2 and the Head of Strategic Communication and Creative Unit of the Department of Science and Technology Regional Office 10, Ma'am Nova Bel Calotes, for the closing remarks.
Hello, good morning mga kaagham. Okay na kung audio, no? Alright, so mayong buntag Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. We in the Department of Science and Technology in Region 10 are very, very happy to see a very varied audience for this morning's webinar, Science Communication, Visuals, and Media, under the Managing Science and Technology Information and Knowledge, or the MASTIC Mentoring Sessions initiative of the agency. So we started strong with over 150 participants, and now we're ending with 180 plus participants in Zoom alone. We also have around 30 to 40 viewers in our FB Live. So thank you very much, and hoping that all your learnings today be brought to practice. Sana po ay magagamit ninyo ang lahat ng mga ideas ni Ma'am Fram and ni Ma'am Ruby sa inyong mga trabaho para maging effective science communicator po tayong lahat. So, my two major takeaways for today's session are: first, science must be brought closer to the people for everyone to make an informed decision. And second, it's not always about the aesthetics. Make sure you tell your story effectively and let it be purposive, because our visuals are our portals to engage to more people. And exhibits should be an experience, not just visual, but all senses must be awakened. Hindi lang puro tarpaulin o brochures when you're creating an exhibit. Take note, DOST 10 dahil papalapit na ang Regional Science and Technology Week. So to all DOST 10 staff to whom this webinar was originally dedicated to, we hope that your learnings will significantly improve our SciComm skills. It is our advocacy to bring science closer to the people, making it accessible and easily understandable. Sana po ay nakapag-contribute ang webinar na ito sa mga goal namin. At sana po ay you will also share your learnings to your colleagues and friends. So our FB Live will be on our FB page for a while, so feel free to rewatch it anytime with your friends and colleagues. So again, thank you very much for being with us today and for your willingness to learn new things. So until our next Mastic webinar, have a great day.
Ayan, thank you very much, Ma'am Nova. And mga kaagham, that concludes our webinar, Science Communication, Visuals, and Media. This webinar is brought to you by the Department of Science and Technology, Regional Office 10. And we do hope na marami kayong natutunan sa ating webinar today. Because in the end, science is for the people. Muli, ito si Bench Clark here from DOST 10, wishing you all the best. Maraming salamat and happy lunch, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you po and have a happy lunch. Thank you, Miss
Ma'am
Bell, Sir
Thank you,
Bench,
everyone po.
Ate
Sir
Fran.
Ancho, Miss Shai. Hope to see you soon. Sobrang miss na kita.
Ako din. Sige, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, Ma'am Fram and Ma'am Shai. Thank you very much po.
Bye po.
Bye po and thank you so much. Next time po sana face-to-face na.
Yes po, face-to-face po, hopefully. Thank you very much po. Thank you very much din po sa ating mga participants who stayed. And we hope that you enjoy your lunch this noon. So thank you very much po. Also, thank you to our organizers.
We hope we
Yes,
answered po
ma'am.
yung Q&A. Pag kulang po, kasi baka hindi po namin na lahat, you can email us po dun sa mga binigay naming email addresses. And I hope po mabigay po sa mga participants po yung copies ng aming mga presentation. Thank you, Sir Bench.
Thank you very much po, Ma'am Fram and Ma'am Shai. We will facilitate po the sending of the presentations together with the certificate of appreciation, certificate of participation pala ng ating mga participants. Thank you very much po. And to those na hindi na-capture ang emails ng ating resource speakers, you may send your questions through the DOST 10 official page. And we will be facilitating the sending to our resource speakers. Ayan po. Special thanks din po to our organizing team for facilitating our webinar this morning. Thank you very much, everyone.